Shit, I jumped the gun. We got to do that again.
No, we're not doing it again. We're going to do it live.
Hong Kong. Hong Kong.
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 612 of the Unpaid and Underrated podcast, a podcast by crew, for crew, made by crew, for crew, and mocked relentlessly in the Discord by the crew. I am one of the hosts, Big Joey. I am joined by
Big Keith. Howdy, howdy.
And we also have Big Tyler. Are we calling you Tyler Stone, Effin Stone?
Tyler
What are we
Stone's
calling
good.
it? Tyler Stone it is. All right. I'm going to dive right in because I like to party. We're going to start with, what are you drinking? I am finishing off that mango bubbly. That stuff was fire.
Nice. I've got I'm out of sorts tonight. I'm drinking a little Mick Ultra for the first time in a couple months. I don't have it. It's been a minute since I've had a beer on the podcast, so we'll see how many of these I put down tonight.
Oh, I got some beer waiting. Don't you worry.
I'm up in the Rocky Mountains this week, so I went straight the Coors Original, the
There you
banquet
go.
beer. Yeah, couldn't resist it.
We were talking about that last week, weren't we?
Yeah,
Banquet
was that when I
versus
explained
yeah.
Why they got it's original up here in Canada. It's called Coors Original.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I don't know, like it's like every other beer is like just heavy. It's just either goes original or banquet. It's kind of what they call it. Here it is. It does say banquet, but
yeah,
I think it's original on the other cans. I prefer the grenades, the short glass grenades. That's like it's a sweet little aesthetic.
The Cobra Kai ones.
Yeah. The Coors Original and the stumpy glass bottles are kind of a fun little treat every once in a while. It's not efficient to drink out of because it's.
No.
Well, especially with your
bit.
hands got to fucking dwarf that bottle too.
Yeah,
like,
this is a 12-ounce can. And I don't buy. I don't buy.
That's a mini. Don't lie. That is a mini.
I'm not
can
even joking. So I actually had to look this up because I swore there was something wrong. I said this is a 10 or something crazy. And so I had to look, and it does say 12 ounces, but it's it's not very flattering. If I'm taking pictures with anything in my hands, I'll tell you that.
It's the Andre the Giant hand over there.
Yeah.
I've got my barefoot shirt on because it's hot as shit up here, down here in Canada. So, yeah, I'm definitely wearing just a barefoot sleeveless shirt.
I was gonna wear I wanted to wear my new grip shirt that I got for Strongman, but it never showed up today, so it's not gonna be there till tomorrow. So I wore my my ouch everything hurts shirt, which I'm glad. I don't think I would have wanted to do a 2-hour podcast in a grip shirt, but I was gonna basically wear it just for like the bit and then take it off. But I'm kind of glad it wasn't here because I don't know how well it'll fit.
If you couldn't see my face, obviously listeners couldn't see it. I was just like, you're going to fucking wear your grip shirt for a podcast?
It would have been more of a, because then I would have segued into like, it would have been, it would just, I'm getting into into strongman. So it would have been.
You're like, that is one step away from like wearing your lifting belt while you podcast.
Yeah, he's just chalking up.
Chalk up before.
Well, fucking, I have one of our podcast hosts has been known to do some ammonia during the podcast. That's a thing.
Oh yeah, sometimes
like
you gotta stay awake.
Yeah.
What shirt you got on there? I see some BJJ.
Problem was I had all the best plans to wear my probably all-time favorite Massonomics design. The sleeper is the Huge Life one. But I wore that all through the airport traveling yesterday. So I was like, I dug it out of my bag. I was like, I'll wear it because I want to rep the brand. And then I was like, this thing smells way too bad for me to put back on. So I'm rocking Misfits Grappling Club out of Sioux Falls. So nice. Good folks to let me train if they beat me up when I drop in through town. So yeah.
That is the Huge Life is one of my favorite shirts for sure. I think I have two.
It really is. I don't know if I'm sure the guys probably can't get away with too many parody stuff anymore once you get above a certain level, but that one is just it's a very underrated fucking Massonomics shirt.
Well, they can just re-release some of the ones that everybody's ripping off and say they're parodying the company that's ripping them off.
That's
right?
True. Yeah.
Do the Weekend Warrior shirt and be like, no, we're parodying the Tango Charlie guys. The
day Massonomics gets a cease and desist from Tango Charlie will be wild.
Oh god, that would be one for the record books.
It would mostly just be to stop us harassing them.
That's what I was gonna say. It would probably be like, you need to call off the people that are following your page. They're fucking blowing us up.
Well, I don't think anyone's harassing them anymore because we're all blocked. I think like 99% of us are blocked just from like any comments we've made at their expense in the last 6 months.
Yep.
But speaking of like banned contraband and stuff, so I hope everyone, or at least did you get a Crispy Boy banner or a Lyft banner, or were you needing those, Joey?
No, I'm bannered. I'm bannered out. I actually have some banners I don't even have room for. And then, I've got the Dilf Dungeon one hopefully being designed, and that one's gonna have to be replaced. Like, it's gonna have to replace one of the ones I have now.
Yeah. You thought about going on the ceiling though? A lot of like Big Matt. I mean, there has been Big Matt and some other crew have been putting shit up on the ceiling, but and your lower ceiling might not be as optimal.
Well, it wouldn't make a difference because I'm not really doing that much overhead press, so that might not be a bad idea. But I do, once the Dilf Dungeon one comes in, Morgan actually has designed a small logo, so I might do the stickers up like Chad asked me last week, and then we'll see what the banner looks like if Jenny ever gets that done.
No, I did catch that you just noticed that she said it was a small logo for your Dilfs, and that sounds about right, I guess.
It's thicker than you think, though.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's not about the size, Keith. It's where I place the sticker.
There you go. That's good stuff. So what do you want to tell me?
5 minutes in, dick jokes.
That's right. And I love how you like went out of your way to not respond to it. I'm just you bastard.
That was a straight. I can neither confirm nor deny statement, right there.
It was actually I'm gonna let that sit there and marinate for a second.
Well, I'm not gonna ever be like, oh no, I should stop telling dick jokes on my podcast. It's just gonna be like, oh, I guess I gotta just tell better dick jokes. So that's all. What do you want to tell me about Zynns, Joey?
Oh fuck, man! Have you guys ever tried those?
No, I gave up nicotine like when I was 20.
I have. My wife's gonna listen to this; she'll be pissed. But I'm pretty like it's a Zynns I keep in a pretty. Somehow it stays in a nice little pocket for me. It's not too enticing. Mm-hmm. But I always wanted to try them because you'd hear all like the what's the word, biohacking dorks. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, they're so great for your mental health. And we had some guys in Europe that were making supplements. It was like a little bit of caffeine, a little something else, and then nicotine. And it was supposed to be like a great nootropic. So I was interested in trying it, especially since it's like not a tobacco product, mm-hmm. It seems like the safest way to get it. And it just seemed to not totally rock my world. Like I don't love it, don't hate it. It's definitely not something that's going to drag me into the shit. But in probably like 6 months, I bought 2 cans.
Mm-hmm. That's not bad.
Of the Zynns, and I still probably have 3/4 of the second one. It's like once every couple of weeks I'll remember I have it and throw it in, but it'll still I would probably get in trouble if the old lady found it. But I'm not into it enough to like fucking actually like deny it and try and get away with it. So
yeah, I'm not hiding it. It's not an addiction. It's just a thing I do every once in a while. So I went to my cigar shop and I asked the people there. I was like, "What are Zynns like?" They're chewing tobacco. I said, okay, do I need a spit cup? Because that's always the thing that turned me off a chew, is that disgusting that people do to their end. So she's like, no, you just put it in your lip and let it absorb. And I don't know anything at this rate. A couple of the guys at work are doing them. I'm hearing about them from, the Discord. And I was like, okay, I smoke cigars. I'll try one of those because I just heard they're so cool. So I said, just give me what flavor. She names them. And I said, give me cinnamon. So I'm in a fucking garden center with my wife and kids. And I put one in my lip as I get out of the car. By the time I'm in the garden center, I'm high. And I mean high. And like I'm shaking and I'm like kind of looking around and I'm like, Morgan, I'm messed up. So I text my group chat from my work group and I was like, guys, these Zynns are insane. Like I'm straight up tripping in the garden center right now. And the one guy goes, well, how many milligrams are they? And I went, we're fucking counting milligrams? Am I supposed to know that?
Yeah.
And I go, I get
just
the can.
Math class?
Yeah, right. I get the can. And
no, Tanner even said that on the podcast. He was like,
okay, you're cutting out, so I'm going to keep telling my story.
I know.
So I get the can and I go, they're 6. And my one buddy who does them all the time goes, oh no. And he's like, I only do 3. So this lady at the cigar shop was like, here, try the strongest. So yeah, I definitely had regrets that day. And I've had one since. But
so there are 3s. I didn't. So when I went in and asked, I was asked at like the grocery store, and it's the same deal. I was like, I don't know, what's the least strong? Because I don't want to get all like, I just don't want to get all weird, like
like I did.
Try to go at my office, yeah. But she just told me 6 was what they have. So I thought that 6 was less than something.
No.
6 is the heavy hitter. But what I do is once I get that little bit of like if the brain tingling or if it gets a little too, what's the word? A little too groovy for me.
Yeah.
I get it out right away.
Me too. Yeah. That's what I
Have you
did today.
have you taken them and like gone and tried to train?
No.
I have twice just for like light, like body, like to go just get a pump session, like some 40-minute thing where it's like, I don't know, good to have a little caffeine and a little of that in you to be focused. I guess I've tried it twice. I would rate it like most non-steroid supplements, totally inconclusive, but I'd probably try it again.
Yeah, I haven't tried that, but again, it was one of those things where even my wife was like, I think you should put those away. And like that should be like a once every couple of weeks. I popped one in today because I was driving exhausted and I was like, maybe this will help. Not, I don't drive over the side of the road. And it did. It did okay. But yeah, that's my story is I don't know what I'm doing. Just took a 6 and just tripped through the entire garden center like a maniac.
So did you like ride it out? You were not compelled to like get this thing out of your mouth?
So I think the can says for about an hour you can enjoy them.
So you held on.
No, I've never had one for more than 15 minutes. I could not. I don't like feeling like that.
Yeah, I'm like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And you're probably, way more than me because I'm victim weight. I'm like 160 pounds.
Yeah, I'm like 300 pounds.
Yeah, so it definitely got me a lot faster. Yeah, I definitely, and like I'm talking, I was watching my heart rate on my watch while I was driving, and it went from like 90 resting to like 112 when the Zyn kicked in.
Nice.
And then I was like, yeah, that's just gonna go now.
That's cardio.
Definitely selling me on never trying those.
No, I don't.
As someone that did chewing tobacco for like 4 or 5 years and it was the hardest thing to ever give up in his entire life, I cannot put anything in my lip like that. It would just instantly be like, oh, I need a can of fucking Skull now.
Well, I smoke cigars.
If you chew, that's like the slipperiest of slopes.
Yeah, that's going right back to chew.
Yeah, no,
I smoked cigarettes forever, and then like tried chewing to transition away from cigarettes, and it was not. It just it never connected with me, which is probably why this Zyn thing I don't think it's not too slippery of a slope for me.
Whereas I hated smoking. I've smoked like a carton of cigarettes in my life, but like I don't think I ever got like a high off a cigarette like I did like a can of like an actual dip. I apparently just like, didn't know how to actually inhale right. I guess
apparently 1 cigarette is 1 milligram. So when we're doing these,
so you're smoking 6 cigarettes.
We're doing 6 at once. That's what my one buddy was telling me, and I was just
over an hour potentially too.
Nerd.
Like that's still crazy.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, definitely. To all the people that do those regularly, power to you, but it's not going into my rotation. I'll stick to my cigars.
Is there a new product that's like invaded the man space in the let's say I'm gonna go a year? Like it's probably been a year. When did this stuff really start popping off?
Probably last month or two I started hearing about it.
I would say a year. I mean, I've heard about it up to a year
I'll give it a year that it's been like near me. I wasn't compelled to take action on it, but all of us were like, we were kind of just generally marketed. This was marketed to us, right?
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere. People you trust from many angles were talking about it. And then you have friends that got into it. And now all of a sudden you have these raving reviews to where guys like us that don't use chewing tobacco are like, yeah, I like this. It would be crazy if all of us were like, you guys want to start smoking cigarettes now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we all get tricked at this age? Be like, let's start doing this. It's going to be fun.
Well, it definitely was
interesting to see how easily compelled you can be.
So here's a thought of it. Who sells it? Like who's the biggest distributor of? Is Zyn a name brand or is it like a Kleenex?
I think they're from Switzerland. Like I'm fairly certain that's where they're made.
I'd be curious because if it's like big tobacco trying to just like get more people hooked and then like just add it to their umbrella of shit.
Got it. There's a shell company here that is the story that you're explaining. This is to make us all feel like this is safe. Zyn is manufactured by a company called Swedish Match, a Stockholm-based company. The parent company of Swedish Match, Philip Morris International.
Shocking.
Followed it. Gotcha.
Damn it.
The merchants of death got us again.
That almost sounds like that almost might be a conspiracy.
I believe it. So this happened in 2022. Philip Morris acquired the company for $16 billion.
Jesus. How do they have that much money?
apparently people really fucking love Zynns.
Yeah. It was when the
Wild.
military guys started talking about it. That's when I kind of,
Yeah.
all right, I'll try it.
Hmm.
Do you want to rate last week's episode?
Yeah, let's do it. It was the boys back in the back actually in video. They were it was the two Holden Gym Con episodes that had no video and subpar audio, so it was
No
really
sound.
cool. Yeah, I mean, I was there, I was talking, but yeah, the recording situation was not ideal. What was it? I'm trying to think what all they talked about. I just always love hearing about the home gym. They did follow about and talk about some of the stuff they got from for the gym equipment. I think Tommy got some Darko the Darko hangers, and Tanner got the jack from Cleva. So I just always like hearing them talk about buying the gym equipment. So oof. But I wasn't on the episode, so I got to knock some points down for that. But I think I'll still go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5. Massonomics Gym iPod touches, that is.
I'm always down to shit talk Rogue.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to.
Yeah, definitely always down to shit talk Rogue a bit, having not used any of their equipment and not really desiring to. I don't know what it was when I posted it in the Discord when Tanner was describing his drink, and he said that it's got electrolytes and essence for flavor, and Tommy kind of mumbled under his breath, that damn near sounds like performance enhancing. That sent me off in a giggle fit, and I don't know why. It was just so funny with the way he delivered it, and just like it's electrolytes. Like, I thought that was really funny. So I'm gonna rate it 5 Massonomics Gym iPod touches. Tyler,
I'm gonna have to go. This is a pretty sore subject for me. The biggest hang up that I have with the podcast is now it's just those two clowns. I mean, Jesus, we're barely hanging on here. What are we doing? In spite of all of it, probably still going to give it a 5.
It's a good fair rating.
Yeah. I do have a question for you guys about the home gym stuff, because you mentioned the last couple episodes were off of the home gyms. You guys both train out of home gyms?
I do, yes. Yeah. No one.
It's very interesting to see, and I don't know. Does that become the Massonomics? Is that the lore now? Is that everybody ends up in their own hermit cave?
I would say like 60% or more crew, 60 to 70% of crew probably are home gym. Now, out of that 60, like there might be.
We could poll. We could find that out for sure.
I would say that it's more than 50 and less than 80, so somewhere in there. I think everyone, it's like we're all fucking submasters. Like I don't have kids, but a lot of us do, and fucking that's who trains at home is people that have kids and work long hours and don't want to fucking get in a car and drive another half hour to a gym. So,
plus there's not the right gyms for most places. Like the guys that are just going to you're going to kind of build your training on a few lifts, maybe strongman. You know what I mean? The general Massonomics training scenario. Gyms that are like really just geared towards that are kind of hard to come by.
And
I've in any market.
I've mentioned it before that the Massonomics demographic skews submasters, masters, above age or above average income. Like you can sense that through most of us.
Yeah.
And that would make sense then, that most of us are also like, we're working out in our home gym. We've got the equipment. When Texas Power Bar is one of the sponsors, right? That's not marketed to gym owners when you're listening to the Massonomics podcast, right? So like it does make sense that most of us are home gyms.
What would it take for a gym for you to go to that gym?
I can I've just got into strongman, and I just bought like a 4-week or a 4-time punch card to go. So it's like $20 a day at a day pass, or if I to buy 4 at a time, it goes down to like $16.25 or something. So I know that specifically so I can go work out with a crew of strongman on Saturdays every now and then I'm going to do a couple of training sessions with like a strongman coach. Other than that, like I can squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press in my $40,000 basement gym, and now I've got a growing garage gym that I can do more strongman shit. So
yeah.
To like leave my gym and go to a commercial gym, I would literally have to get like divorced and go into an apartment. Like that's the only thing.
Investment would be like
there's no way. No way.
If we ran the hypothetical, let's just say you currently don't have the home gym. You just moved into this location. What would it have to be? Proximity to your house? What are the must-have checklist for you to be like, I'd rather go here, even if it's not price isn't even a factor. It's all the
Right.
things that are not the price, the type of people that train there. Sometimes building a
Community.
vibe, kind of like what happens at Massonomics Gym. That training didn't really happen in this town. It kind of had to be built by somebody. And that was one of the things where it's like, you could do that kind of training somewhere, but you were going to be the fucking weird guys. And so that's like the only way to do it kind of was to build it. So for you guys, if you were starting and didn't have your own equipment, where do you, like, what would it take for you to not move down the road of and build your own gym?
When I lived in the city, I joined a gym called Momentum. They had 2 locations. They had one very, very close to me, and then they had one kind of on the other side of the city. And the one on the other side of the city actually had like a deadlift bar and, well, just a straight bar and all that, where the one close to me only had like this weird machine where everything was on hydraulics. And then when I moved out here, there was a similar gym very close to me. So I started going there, but then I started getting into strength training, and I just couldn't do strength training in this old man gym. So I ended up getting a secondary pass at Fit for Less, which is like the Canadian version of Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
Because the one downtown had actual deadlift platform. So when I first started deadlifting, my buddy was like, well, come here with me on a day pass and see what you think. And I was like, okay. So on deadlift day, I would go there, drop the wife off in the city. You go do your shopping, go do the things you want to do. I'm going to go work out for an hour. But then when everything went on and all of them closed, I'd already purchased an Olympic power bar and was deadlifting in my gravel pit outside, because the one day I went to go deadlift, some kid was using the deadlift platform to do fucking shrugs.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, that's it, I'm done. And I went and bought my own bar and started deadlifting in the pit. That's actually when the home gym started, was in the pit.
It also seems to be the equipment is one limiting factor, but oftentimes it's like the people.
It's the people.
It's the people. Yep. I train I do some coaching at a couple different commercial gyms. So I train, most of my training now is just like remedial in between my like jujitsu or kickboxing or MMA training. And so I'm not lifting a bunch of heavy stuff. I kind of get by in and out when I get in, but still you go to a commercial gym, and every commercial gym that I've ever been in, I wish they charged 2 or 3 times as much as they did, because it would just eliminate all of the fucking morons. You know, there's people who go in the gym that are literally eating French fries from McDonald's right next door.
Yeah,
I've seen a man drink a large Coca-Cola out of a McDonald's cup and set it down and then do his little lever chest press machine in the gym. Yeah. You've seen popcorn upstairs in the, like just all over the floor. It's mess. The people are the biggest. I think you could get strong if there is a deadlift platform and a squat rack and a bench. Like everybody could probably make do, but for the most part, you just want to not be around fucking fitness idiots. It's not even that they're dumb or are training stupid. It's like they suck to be around some of them.
Yep. Yeah. Now I actually, I don't know if you've listened to that episode or anything. I actually live right near Pure Muscle and Fitness, which is like one of the biggest gyms in Canada. I think Mike Wick is one of the owners, or at least an investor there. And so he records all his content out of there. I've been there. That would be fucking dope to lift in. Like when I was there watching the deadlift challenge, Mitch Hooper was there, Juji was there. Like this is where all of the big people and big names go. The guy that won the grip challenge, he got off stage. Mitch Hooper was like, that's like one of the strongest men in Canada. And like, I guess he's won Canada's Strongest Man or something recently and was just there having fun. So like that, that would be dope. Like, those would be great people to be around. But at the same time, like there's also the fitness models that are there, and there's tripods everywhere. And I'm not sure you could convince me to go to a commercial gym on a regular basis.
I don't mind even it really is. There's like the high school kids are a nightmare.
Oh God, the broccoli heads are the worst.
And then I honestly don't mind, like, because I'm always training, like, I kind of work for myself. So I'm training like late morning, early mid-afternoon, like the sweetest times of day to train. So I'm in there with a bunch of like the olds. I'm there with just a bunch of elderly people who aren't doing anything cool, but like they're pretty out of your fucking way. And it's kind of sweet because you'll like, you'll curl like a 45-pound dumbbell. And like, look at you, big strong fella. Like, thanks. They move on. There's nobody jamming you up. Nobody really cares that much. But if I had to open a gym, like again, it'd be like I would go like a Globo Gym model. I would want all the equipment and shit, but I would just make it so prohibitively expensive so I could do business with half as many people for twice the money.
Yeah.
And I would literally not allow anyone under 18.
Yeah, that's smart.
They just couldn't fucking do it.
I'm kind of spoiled. Like if I did have to go back to commercial gym, I've got a couple options. One about 15 minutes away, that's strongman, mainly a strongman gym, but it's also very power. Like they put on a couple powerlifting meets a year. It's like 50-50 strongman powerlifting, limited machines, but combo racks, monolift, like stones, everything you would need for strongman. And then another one of my buddies opened up a specific powerlifting gym about a year ago, and I think he just expanded more recently too. I did an open gym when he opened his new space, and he's got 4 combos, a mono, a bunch of deadlift platforms. Now that's like Rochester hasn't had that like up until recently. Like there's just been fucking like Planet Fitness, LA Fitness, and a couple like mom and pop places that always end up going under every 10 years. So hopefully both these gyms last. But yeah, for me, a lot of it would be the community. Like if you're not giving back to the lifting community and you're just some old dude, like if you're not hosting a meet or putting on some kind of strongman show, or like I don't know, like that's what's good about both these. They both host meets. They both put on the one does shows. With traveling for as much work as I do, I still do have to go to a shitty Globo gym periodically, and those are the worst fucking workouts ever. Like I'm fighting to get any equipment. The bench is fucking like 10 inches wide and hard as a brick. It's like the shittiest lifts ever. Which is fine if you're not peaking for something, but if you're peaking for a meet and you got to go fucking like hit your top single, like completely out of your element in some shitty rack that's not adjustable, it's like this is horrible. So
you got to ask some like 11-year-old kid to spot you for this stuff. Like, we're both gonna fucking die if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have enough weight. Can you get on? Like,
and the nice thing too, though, you kind of ran through this point earlier, is that like the home gym, though, what you both had is like COVID. You can win.
Yeah.
People with the home gyms really won that stuff. So you're like, fuck it, whatever it is, I could still get in and get it done. And that was the real benefit. Is gyms open, gyms close, the new members change. Like you could go in, if you're a guy that just trains at 5-6 o'clock every night, that place could be your place. It can be wonderful. Yeah. And then like 7 fucking dumbasses who want to train at 5 or 6 join. And all of a sudden that's your hour. And now there's just a cancer in the situation. So I feel that a lot, because most of what I train, even when we traveled and all the other places we lived, I've trained tons of different kinds of gyms and just whatever's nearby, whatever I want to try. And I feel that pretty intensely. You always like want to crawl back into your cave. I got my stuff. It's the stuff I want. Yeah. I don't have to deal with all these other variables. But Keith, you mentioned the community thing, and you do miss that if you stay in your home gym. But then you kind of got to get out and do stuff to find people that also do the thing you do. You go out and you do other things that are like that. But the gym can be good for that, except I've never really gone to most gyms and been like, I'd like to be friends with some of these people. It's usually not. I usually go, I'd be happy if I never saw these people again.
I've spent the last decade doing local-ish powerlifting meets and like accumulating like Instagram friends, and then actually getting them to come train with me in my basement periodically. So I do an open gym once a month. I do one every Sunday, but I only get like one person to come to that. And then once a month I do anywhere from like there's like 6 to 12 people to come and party with me and like work out and deadlift in my basement and shit. So like I still get that community aspect, but
otherwise you'd be like, you could turn into like the strength sports Unabomber. It's too dialed into his fucking garage gym. You're like, we gotta check on this dude.
The perfect ratio is like 80% alone, 20% with people, maybe like maybe 70-30, but like no more than 70-30. Just having people there. But yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, who needs a gym when you have rocks?
No, yeah. Joey's got a rock.
So I finally got my rock overhead. It was only 108 pounds, but I mean, I overhead my rock finally because I just didn't think I could. And then the Highland Games Rock Federation or people, they challenged me to do it. So I got it. I got it overhead in my driveway. But now I have to name it. And apparently that's a tradition, is once you finally lift a rock, especially overhead, you get to name your rock. So it's been about a week and I still don't have a name. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I thought this was going to be the unveiling.
Workshopping it at all?
What's that?
You haven't been workshopping it at all?
I put on an Instagram story and everybody gave me some really funny answers. I kind of want to name it after Bray Wyatt. I was going to name it Wyatt.
There you go.
Because I thought that was kind of cool. But that's been like the only steady name. But I'm sure I'll hear something that'll go, no, that's even better. But right now why it's kind of the range. But there's also like, I'm going to get another rock. Like I'm going to be out somewhere and I'm going to see a rock that's a little bigger and be like, I want that one now. And then eventually I have to name that one, right? So I'm going to need a couple names.
It's the most strength sports autism thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I've never named any. I mean, outside of naming my actual gym, I don't think I've named any of my equipment. Like I've never named them. Like I have friends that have named like barbells and shit. I have too many barbells to name. Jesus Christ.
Never name a barbell. That's
yeah.
But I've never named my rock, but apparently it's tradition. And I don't want to be the stone lifter here in Canada that doesn't name his rock. Like I'm not gonna break tradition. But yeah, you've never heard that? Like when you're in or lifting rocks, you just be walking and be like, or out driving, because I'll be in the car and I'll go, rocks. And Morgan will be like, are you gonna pull over and lift it? No.
So we had a guy who used to put on strongman comp. I don't know if he still does, but if you in the earlier Massonomics episodes, Tanner and I talked a few times about going to the state fair strongman contest.
Oh yeah.
So that was a ton of fun. But that guy's like his kind of thing. It was one of the signatures for that event. Was he just would exactly what you said, Joey. He'd go driving around. He'd just see a rock that looked like it'd be tough to lift. And the guy that ran it, Chuck, like he's not built like Tanner or I. Like he's just not that kind of guy, not that kind of athlete. And so he would spend like all year between events. Any rock he'd see, he'd be like, I think those big boys from up north can get that. And if he thought it would be a challenge, he'd go through all the trouble of like figuring out how on his own or whatever he could get this into his truck so he could get it to the state fair the next year.
I love that.
Yeah.
So every year he had like some new thing, and it was just he wasn't trying to like have us not get it, but he was like, I kind of want to see if every time he put something out and we do it easily, he was like, all right, fuck it, next year it's gotta be
next year. Full send, bud.
And once Tanner started like Massonomics, the gym and the brand and all that stuff, that's the thing that kind of started. Now that contest was just, no offense, schmucks and farmers and average Joes that were just like, I feel like I'm a tough guy. And then all of a sudden there's guys that actually really lift that were showing up to this thing.
Yeah.
And as soon as that started happening, Tanner won a few years. So this guy's like, oh shit. And he kept bringing guys from Aberdeen, and then Massachusetts had a gym. So we were bringing 4, 5, 6 guys every year. So this guy had to like really escalate the challenges he was presenting very quickly over probably like a 3 or 4 year span. So
good stuff.
Hey, that's a good segue. Do you want to get into the ad read? Do you got one for us today, Tyler?
Let's do it. Guys, we need you to go visit massonomics.com. It's the hottest, mostly original apparel you could possibly imagine. It's the place, the platform that if you look deep enough into the archives, you're going to find terrible blog articles that other people that used to be associated with the business would maybe prefer that they just delete. But you're going to find all the things. Well, honestly, though, like Massonomics, the brand itself, I think has become, where would you guys rank it in the world of strength sports regarding just like brand visibility right now? For sure, top 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say top 10.
Top
like
for sure. For
I start itching into top 5, and I don't know what I put above it. That's not, let's say, purely an equipment. You know what I mean? There's some equipment stuff and some entities that are larger, but if you're talking entertainment and content, and also apparel, like a true brand, I get them top 5, and I don't know the 4 that I'd put in front of them, but I'm sure there probably are some.
That's fair.
So you got a couple guys that started this thing up from like truly the middle of nowhere, like the depths of South Dakota with fucking nothing land where there wasn't even other people to train strong. And he's like, let's just start this gym, and all this stuff started flowing. So it's really good to see guys that are actually like about it. And I think that's one of the things that really connects to regular folks and really the athletes and everybody who consumes Massonomics content, the lore, all that stuff, is that like, it's really nice to see dudes that are like good dudes who are just kind of about this life kind of get their due. And it's impactful and it's nice. And Tommy does, I'll toot Tommy's horn for a while. Like Tanner has no fucking style. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
Oh, no. We know.
And I was the worst. You know, when I we won't even get into how bad my style was, but like Tommy stylistically, he still keeps it young, keeps it hip, and he's super, super, super talented. So there's a reason on all my other businesses I work with Tommy and all our branding and stuff. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, Massonomics, get fucking with it. If you're in the strength sports world and you're not buying all the Massonomics shit, you're fucking up. And you're behind the eight ball. Because the one thing that I'll say, having been associated with Massonomics, is the guys that see it and recognize it, like, really get it. You're not wearing a fucking Rogue shirt. You're not wearing a fucking Super Training Gym shirt. You're not, you know what I mean? You're not wearing like some other shit that's just kind of played out or that is just really not that original. And I think the Massonomics stuff, if you're wearing Massonomics gear out in public and someone else spots you on it and they give you the thumbs up, like, that's like a real ass dude.
Yeah.
Totally. And you can go find him on Facebook, right, Tyler?
You probably can.
No,
do they do Facebook?
That's
a running joke.
Tanner still does a little bit of Facebook, but that was to harken back to you always on the earlier episodes. You always said, "Don't forget to check out our Facebook." You know, you guys were pushing
now too. Facebook still is like, you still kind of have to do it. Like if you're going to run ads and things like this to try to actually like market stuff, you got to do it. But it's weird. Like Facebook is this world where it's now really the oldest and lamest. It's not that cool.
I don't even have it.
I'd love to not tell you, man's got to sell.
Yeah,
it's too much. I have too much family. I can never get rid of it. Like it's still like all my like
your family. It's easy.
60-plus-year-old relatives are on there. So 20 years of memories.
Yeah, the like business in the business space. This is a thing I've been coached on a bunch. Is like we always get told the first thing you're supposed to do if you're like professionally yourself or you use your Facebook page for marketing, they tell you go in and unfriend every person who's your family, every person who's your old high school friend, unfriend every person who's like literally not even close to being a person who's going to buy the thing that you're selling, because it'll fuck up your algorithm and limit your exposure. And I'm like, my fucking grandma would kill me.
Yeah.
If she ever found out that I wasn't still friends with her on Facebook, the end of the goddamn world.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right. So that was great. Love it. A little bit of history there. We want to get our guest on the horn? Want to kick out the looky-loos?
Let's do it.
All right. I'll kick people out. You bring them on in.
All right. It's Big Tyler Effin Stone. Is that you, buddy?
It is. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Unpaid and Underrated Podcast.
You are live. We are, we're going to dive right in because we don't want to miss any gold here.
Okay, let's get right to it.
So, the biggest question I think, and we ask everybody this one, but I kind of think you might have the most in-depth answer. What brought you to the world of Massonomics?
So I had started. It's a hella lame origin story, but it's a real one. So I won't gloss around it. I was like a super fat, regular old guy in his 30s, like just got fat as shit and was working. And so I needed to do something, and I got tricked into doing CrossFit by my friend who had already lost like 100 pounds. So I was like, fuck, I can't be fatter than him. I'll do it to beat him. So I started doing it. Obviously at my build, I'm about 6.5 feet tall, and I was like 350, 360 when I started. Like CrossFit was not the thing that was going to be the thing, but I was built for the things that I was good at within whatever those training domains were the things that connected to me. But throughout that process, I tried to share it. So I did a bunch of writing and things like this, and I was consulted with a guy who was like, you need to collaborate because there's really no building a brand on a blog or anything like this. And at the same time, Tanner and Tommy were fucking around at the YMCA, like had basically had a logo, the brand. And I didn't know these guys at all, never met them. And so these two powerlifters were then moving into this just disgusting, shitty dungeon that nobody wanted to be in, with equipment that nobody wanted, but they were really cool guys, and they were training to get strong, which is exactly the stuff that I like to do. So I literally just reached out to Tanner, and my thing was, I said, I think we should talk. I kind of like the stuff to do. Let's go train. So I went and met Tanner, and Tanner was a fucking unit back then. That Tanner had about a 2-year stretch in the beginning of Massonomics where he was like, he put on a massive amount of weight every year. It was nuts. Every new meet Tanner would show up to. So Tanner was strong as fuck back then. So I go over there. I was like, this, obviously the strongest giant guy at a CrossFit gym. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the place I need to train. These are the people I need to train with. But back then in that era, you guys remember, this is circa 2015, maybe 14, 15, if I'm doing it right. And the podcast world had popped off a ton in that 3 years, right? 3-4 years before that, Rogan had gotten nuts. So I listened to a ton of podcasts. It became the primary thing that I consumed entertainment wise during my day. Drive around work, service calls, I'm listening to Mark Bell's podcast, Joe Rogan, like Barbell Shrugged, anything that I could consume to keep me interested in fitness, health, training, whatever I did. So I really thought that it would have been awesome if I would have started this show 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. So I told Tanner the same thing. I was like, if you guys are going to start this brand or business, you should have a podcast. And he said, I don't have any fucking idea how to do that. And I was like, well, I used to be like in bands, like I play instruments. I'm sure I could figure out the audio stuff. Fortunately, at that time this is the last time I had like a real job that I worked for other people, which was also like the most money I've had in that entire time. So at the time I was like, yeah, I'll just fucking buy a bunch of gear. My house is huge. We got a bunch of different rooms that I don't use that we could put it in. So we fucking pulled the trigger, and I said, let's do it. Let's start the podcast. He said, but there's no money. Right? We don't make any money. We don't sell any apparel. We don't even know what this brand is. And so these guys came to basically I was like, well, fuck it. If you're starting the business, just I'll handle all this. I'll invest this, and we'll just go in as partners. So we signed in as partners, and that's when the podcast started. And my wife was like, not.
I was going to ask about that. I was going to say, how did Megan feel about this?
This was another project where she was just like, God fucking damn it, Tyler. Because I do these things where I'll hyper fixate on something and then just fully do it. And you probably, if you were into the show back then or have listened, that's kind of the thing that I will do. Which at that point in a business or in a brand is like, you have to try everything, because we didn't know that eventually it would connect with the market that it did, and the vibe would click, and that memes would become popular, and that Tanner would be so good at it. You know what I mean? All those things. We started doing some memes maybe like a year in. And I was like, oh, that's really funny. You got to remember, the meme wave was it wasn't such a high percentage of what's on the internet.
Yeah, I don't remember memes 7 years ago, 8 years ago very much.
No, so it happens every once in a while. Tanner would drop one in a format. It would be hilarious. And then I'd try to make one, and it would miss the mark because I didn't get it. And after 2 of those, I'm like, I'm staying completely out of the creative for this. I'll just handle the podcast stuff. And I think that was the best move. But at that time, we just tried a bunch of shit. Right? We're like, I don't know, let's train in my garage and podcast. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. You have to, for people that ever want to get into podcasting, what I tell everybody is you got to do stuff that's interesting. And the nice thing about us having that podcast is it just made us try stuff. It's like, fuck it. You guys want to go to the Arnold? It'll give us something to do. It's not a total net negative on the experience. And that's where going to the Arnold started, was just something to do. So we'd have something to talk about, maybe get some content. And so we tried a million things. 15 of them stuck. A couple of them gave me some opportunities and I went elsewhere. But that process was we just had to throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what happened. And fortunately, the guys are really our aces. The 2 guys that are there, Tanner and Tommy, are really, it was very easy. It was just really, really easy for things to work really well when guys are like that. It would be fucking crazy if that project fell on its face. I just don't. It's just not really guys that are going to do it well and do a thing consistently over a long enough time. You guys are what? This is 50 plus episodes.
55. Yeah, we hit our year a couple weeks ago, which is that. Who the fuck does that? How many people have podcasts that last a year with an episode every week?
And I told you when you guys started, right, that the threshold is still about the same. It's about 17 to 19 episodes. It's 90+% of all podcasts that have ever existed don't make it over that threshold.
Yeah,
I think if you make it over a year, it's nearly 99%.
I was pretty stoked. I was very, very happy that we did that when I saw that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I think you messaged me around episode 23, and you were I think that's when you said
I think I got that.
You beat most of people.
Yeah, and now all you have to do is not quit. As long as you that careful preservation of a forward lean. It's I don't fuck this up. I don't get worse the whole time, so I get a little better, and you'll just it all shows up. But back to when we started, like I said, I was like, fuck. But if we would have started 3 years ago, we'd be kings of the fucking heap, right? And nowadays, still, there's people that I talk about starting a podcast when they have good ideas. I'm like, I get you think that if you started 5 years ago now, that things would be so much better. And that's probably true. But you still got to start now, because even I said, in hindsight now, that opportunity in 2015 or 16 to start a show, I thought the whole podcast market was already awash at that point. And how dumb is that? How dumb of a take is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is over, man. We're never going to break through. And how many new shows fucking have popped off since then?
All right.
I dig it.
And
I'm
now
glad.
here you are on the
Here we
Unpaid
are.
and Underrated.
Finally made it.
Big things coming, Unpaid and Underrated. I keep saying
So
that.
I do got to interrupt though. This is a little bit funny. You guys do some really good show prep here, right? So
We try.
you guys reach out to a couple people and acquaintances and friends and stuff. You try to get some info, make sure you're prepared for the show.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is in your guys' this thing that you send out to people, one of the things is we want to maybe get something that will maybe surprise them or we can catch them off guard with. And both of the people that you guys talk to know me so well that they've reached out to me directly and go, I know the one thing you hate more than anything in this world is to be caught off guard. So they still didn't tell me what they told you, but they were like, hey, I got these questions. How do you want me to handle that? And I'm like, don't worry, you'll be fine. Just do it. So I didn't sell you out or didn't have them pollute the product, but they both pulled the ripcord. They're like, Tyler is going to hate it if he gets surprised on a podcast.
I honestly don't think I got anything that wasn't public knowledge by the backlog. Yeah. Like if you didn't say it on the podcast or like on social media or Tanner and Tommy didn't say it about you, like I don't think I got too much that hasn't been.
And
where were you on 9/11?
Yeah, no, and we don't do anything that's going to get anyone with like I mean, I might have asked some bad questions in the past, but like we try to like not do anything that's going to get you in trouble or
I'm
like
pretty HR friendly. That's what I say.
I mean, I want to embarrass people, but like to a point, and it's like you got to get right to that threshold of like
Yeah.
So
I usually go through I'll spend an hour going through the notes, and I will Keith has seen it. I'll be like, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. I will go and do that because he'll just copy and paste.
I still look through it, but I've already invested hours getting the information from people because
so that's when I'll go through just again protect the brand, protect our guest. I'll be like, nope,
absolutely.
Nope. And yeah, I that is the joke. I'm pretty HR friendly. I won't, nothing, no prohibited grounds. We call it up here in Canada. No prohibited grounds. All right. Well, that was fun. What's your Hall of Fame status? Did you get a Hall of Fame card?
No, okay. I did the math on it. I think I'm a couple short technically. And I think for what I would have to do it, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I have that pulled up conveniently, but I've looked through. I think I'm like maybe 2 short of like the first one, whatever the first tier is. I think I'm a couple
it's
short.
12. I think. 12. Yeah, it's 12. Yeah, because 14.
And I honestly think the one that I would have to eat, one of them would be I'd have to listen to all the episodes of Massonomics.
No, I'm not doing that either.
I'm not doing that.
I have.
I could. Well, and there's and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but like, I love Tanner and Tommy. But after my last episode, the only episodes I've listened to are the ones where I've been back on it since. And it really is a matter of it's like, if you break up with someone and you truly think that it's just this is better, this is nice. Maybe it's not healthy to constantly be checking in on their Instagram feed all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one thing I don't want to, and actually in reality, it was like, I like the project. You want them to find your own way. And the last thing you want to do is have me watch and be like, well, I would have done this differently. And I would have done this early on. I really want to give them their space. Because by the way, when I left, we were a 3-person show the whole time. Mm-hmm. So it's like, can it be done with 2 people? Was kind of a question that we were all kind of considering. And then sure enough, they just
Tanner literally slid right into your host spot within a month maybe of having it just no jitters after that. And if anyone that hasn't listened to the backlog, there's there's different timelines of it was a 3-man show, a 3-man show with some interviews, a 2-man show, and then a 2-man show with interviews, and it just kind of progressed with that. So yeah, there's definitely different eras for sure.
Yeah, but to get the Hall of Fame stuff, I'd either have to probably compete, which I maybe could, but I've been just constantly hurt from martial arts. I had almost no real injuries training strongman and competing in strongman for those years, and I got relatively strong and I did okay for a middle-aged guy, but 3.5 years of kickboxing, 2 years of jiu-jitsu and MMA, and my shoulders are more destroyed than they've ever been from bench pressing. My knee exploded in my first 90 seconds of jiu-jitsu competition. Just dislocated and blew apart. Fuck. So I don't know that me competing in a strength sport is something I should do. So maybe I'm going to see if I'll see if I get grandfathered in. That might be the best
way. Is there anything? Is there any piece of Massonomics merchandise that you? Well, you can even because you can answer this kind of differently because you might have owned something you maybe don't own anymore just because you can outgrew it or doesn't fit. But like, what's one Massonomics piece of merch that you wish you could still wear today?
Wish I could still wear. Honestly, how about this? There's one that I always wish I could wear. We talked about the huge life design, and I think that is just such a great one, especially if you're a huge guy. Truly, I'm a pretty huge guy. So if I walk in a room, that's kind of a flex in the huge life shirt. But I think sneaky, the Pull Sumo Jordan knockoff, that design is just a fucking dope design. But I don't pull sumo, so I can't do it. And the other thing for all of the here's a little back bit too. I can't ever wear white shirts. We had great creative differences at differences, but you will almost only ever see me wear. By the way, this is the same blank that all the Massonomics shirts are.
Sure it is.
Sure it is.
It's the next level CVC. I think it's a 6210.
I've got 100 fucking next level shirts between different brands, and they all fit fucking different. It's a next level thing, not a Tanner thing.
Yeah, and so they, but I've got this is what I have on all my other projects too. It's this blank. I have this black shirt, but it's all black. Once you get into colors, the blanks are very different still, even though it's the same. But I am too gross in armpits and food spillage and beard stuff. Joey, you know this. Like a man with a beard can't be eating burgers in public. You never eat a sandwich out of your house without a spotter.
Yep.
You can't eat a sandwich without a spotter ever. You gotta have someone you care about to tell you there's something in your beard. You're gonna look like a moron.
I have to time my chicken wings. Like I have to make sure I'm shampooing my beard that night or the next day if I eat chicken wings. I talked about that last week because it's just acting.
Yeah. So I can't do the white shirts. You're never going to see me wear white shirts. If I do, it's something I'll pull out on a special occasion, lit in a way like I can never. It looks gray. My wife sucks at washing white shirts. They all just turn flat and gross, and it's terrible. So the white ones I would never ever wear. I wish maybe I could pull it off. That might be the one that's probably the best answer to the question. And the other ones is I have a really intense hatred for pocket print shirts where on the front of the shirt there's just a print where a pocket would be and then there's more stuff on the back. I think it's the lamest shit ever. You got to have some intense, maybe 10 years younger than me, dad hipster vibe maybe to pull that off. I don't know, whatever it is, I don't like it. I only buy shirts there's one criteria if I'm going to wear clothes that matters the most is does it make me not look fat and does it make me look jacked? It's the fit exclusively and the print can help with it. Nobody looks more jacked with a pocket print on the front than they would do if it had a real big logo. It's always a step backwards. So it's not actually a real creative difference, but I would never, ever, ever buy one and wear one because I just don't know if I could pull it off.
Okay, I can relate for sure. So are you an Aberdeen native then, or South Dakota?
Yeah. Born and raised in Aberdeen. Yeah,
nice. You're the only one out of the three because they're both Aberdeen adjacent growing up, right?
Yeah, Tanner was a small town, maybe 15, 20 minutes away. He's hella country. Tommy's another town, but again, we're talking Aberdeen like this is a real city. It's 25,000 people.
It's hard.
But Tanner is from the actual sticks, and Tommy is from a town of 3,000 people.
It's hard to explain that to people who haven't been there because we've obviously we've all been there.
Yeah,
and
you're going where?
When we land, and I can already picture the people that are on that airplane that are not lifters are going to be so confused why these wide men are all going into Aberdeen at the same time. But the Lift Hard Live Easy, we had to at least increase the population by 10%.
For sure, by body weight. For sure, by body weight.
I mean, it's going to be literally double this year.
When at that meet, at the very least, the town's overall 3 lift total goes way up. That might be the strongest weekend that Aberdeen ever is.
Now, was that pretty cool for you to see them put that meat on last year and see the
It was
OD
awesome.
ice arena literally have like 500 people in it or whatever? We
It
ended
was
up
awesome. And I
cramming in
think
there.
this year, the thing is that was the first. And everything we've done with the Massanom, especially the events, is everybody actually really, really likes them. They're fun, they're spectator friendly, they move them very, very, very quickly to the point where it should be uncomfortable for the competitors how fast it's moving.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody wants to start a meet and end it 12 hours later. So it's like, fuck it, your warm up's getting cut off. Let's party.
Yeah.
And so it goes pretty quick, but then you're going to see a lot more spectators actually there. Well, whether they're coming and going for the day or not, you'll see. I would be willing to bet 2 to 3x the amount of people in the stands.
Oh, nice.
And that's always the way it was. Our first one was a tent. Nobody heard about it. We marketed it, but it's just people that know us. Second strongman event was pretty big. Third one, we gave away like 1,500, maybe 2,000 fucking flyers. There's a ton of people in the space. So this will continue to catch eyes. It's a good party that, it's only going to attract people adjacent to this set of interests, but it'll smoke them out, dude. That's the nice thing. It'll be a ton of fun. But to see that event was really nice. The other thing that I really did like was that my wife won the women's best lifter. Megan F. Stone, follow her on Instagram. But and Tanner even said afterwards, he was like, I'm really glad you won, because it was like, it's nice to keep one of the belts in town. So we still got that belt still hanging up down at Massonomics gym.
Nice.
So it's because here's what happens. Normally when Massonomics puts on an event, I'm not going to say that they put on events so that Tanner can win. They put on events and then Tanner wins them. Okay.
Oh, we've been mocking him. Don't worry. He keeps hinting he's going to be at this one, and we're just like, oh, great.
But this one, he didn't compete, and also, he's had some injuries and been a busy man outside of all this. So, like, he didn't compete in that one. So it was just guys from the gym, just people from the gym, and so it was really nice to see Megan come and take the cake. And it wasn't because there wasn't good competition. There was a lot of really good female lifters there. So it was going to be tough for a lot of average Joes to beat Oldham. You know what I mean? Like a lot of just regular guys. But in the women's division, it was actually pretty competitive, and it was nice. So that was probably my favorite part.
Did she tell you the next day how we completely ruined her workout?
No.
So we all,
because you guys were all down there, right?
Yeah. And then I was like, hey, congratulations. Because I was already following her and you on Instagram, right? And I was like, oh, Meg, Joey, like, we've talked on Instagram. And she's like, congratulations on winning. I was like, can you show me how to lift the stones? So she put on this like impromptu course on how to lift stones, which attracted like all of the Strength Co people. Then Tanner was like, okay, now I want to lift those stones. And then like, I'm trying to lift those stones. And then she's just kind of like, well, I got to go now. And I was like, oh no, you didn't get a chance to do any of your stuff.
I promise if she would trade a workout for the opportunity to like fucking stunt like that. I mean, everybody, if you all train long enough, if you could ever get to the point where there's a room of people gathered around because they want to see you explain how to do a thing in the gym, you're like, this is my fucking crowning achievement. That might have been cooler for her than bringing home the belt. So
yeah, that was great. That was really fun.
Stones are hard as shit. I'm just getting into stones. Like I can't do stones without my biceps hurting, so I got to figure that one out of like keeping my elbows locked and shit. Like I got an appointment next week with a coach basically because we have to do the Stone of Steel at the Strongman show. I'm doing the Strongman show this year, and completely don't know jack shit about Strongman. So that one, and I couldn't fucking I couldn't lap like 160 with the Stone of Steel, but I can do like a 240-pound regular stone. So I'm like, what the fuck? I guess it's because the diameter is bigger of the Stone of Steel. So
and
I got
lapping is so much grip. So you got to cheat. You got to figure out what within the realm, what within the realm of grip assistance you can do, whether it's spray tack, lineman glove, or wide receiver gloves.
I have wide receiver gloves, and I've got a grip shirt all like showing up this week.
So you just gotta like
give it a shot.
Piecemeal a bunch of subpar solutions together because it is just you got to hook up with it, But the more you can like stick to it, the better. But that lift is like stones. You mentioned on the biceps. I've I've had like pretty, not major, but a handful of like minor tears on the inside of my biceps, both of them. The heaviest stone I ever was doing a contest. I think it was I don't know if it was 3 that I got or a couple of, but that I couldn't, like I had bruising and everything like that. It wasn't fully detached. So there was no surgical solution, but like I've had tendonitis literally just from I'd train for stones. I'd compete with stones at the end of a summer or season. And then I'd have like debilitating elbow tendonitis for 6 months, to where like
fun.
even in squat workouts, I couldn't pick up my own 45-pound plates to put on the bar to squat. I just couldn't handle that. It hurt so bad. So I feel you on the bicep thing. It's a technical thing, but also sometimes if you're just hooked up with something and your arms aren't, there's the ability for them to flex, like they're going to get chewed up. Something's going to get chewed up.
You got to shave
Everyone
your
I know.
arm?
Do I? No, I just let it go.
Oh, I was going to say, no, Keith, you got to shave your arms
I'll shave
so
anything.
that you
I
can
don't
use
care.
tacky.
The good thing is
Stone and steel, you can't, right?
Yeah, you can't use tacky on the stone. You can use tacky towel and receiver gloves, which
okay.
I'm fine with because like I've done, like I did a session last weekend and the boys were breaking out the tacky and I'm like, fuck that, I don't want to like get that and they're just like fucking, it's just playing grab ass and like warming up the tacky and stuff. I'm like, I don't want tacky. I don't want, that's not my scene.
I think when you're using regular stones, I do like it. I do like tacky is great for confidence, because if you're training with regular stones, you're only using spray tack and stuff like that, like the easier to clean up solutions, your confidence gets really fucking kicked in the ass before right as you build up to the meet. So I always like to get 2 or 3 like sloppy, tacky stone sessions in beforehand, because it's a huge boost in your confidence. You have actually the strength to do it. It's all a matter of keeping it attached to you. And so but training with tacky is an absolute fucking nightmare. You have to have clothes you hate. You don't ever want to wear again.
Yeah.
And you got to expect to be gummed up and gross for a couple days. It doesn't get off no matter what you say.
Yeah,
it's still stuck in your fingernails. And
that does not sound fun. And speaking of fun, so I have this game we started a couple weeks ago. So we're calling it least fun and most fun. So I'm gonna give you a few topics. You're not picking what's least fun and what's most fun. You're just gonna tell me about this individual topic, like what's one thing you consider the least fun and what's one thing you consider the most fun about the individual topic.
Okay.
So Big Tyler, least fun, most fun, living in Europe.
Most fun, let's see here. Most fun is like literally like nightlife in Europe. Europe is pretty fun, even if you're a mid-30s. Like you can get out and have some pretty wild, really cool, unique experiences that are definitely very different than what you're going to get in South Dakota. Nightclubs that are open till 7 a.m. and then after bar club. Like even being an old man talking about partying that late is pretty crazy. But like, I'll be goddamn, you pop one of those off every once in a while. You're like, holy shit, what a wild time. That was a ton of fun. Least fun is doing things in German. But I always knew, especially when we were in Austria, that we were only going to be there for a year and a half or 2 years, and then we were going to move to Holland. So I didn't bother to learn to speak German. I could read enough of it to get around and do transportation and all this stuff. But the life, even my friends who know German, who are German speaking, they said life's too short to learn German. It's like, don't.
Makes sense.
But in reality, we lived just outside of Vienna there, and so the problem was you go to some of these places and like, I just want to buy fucking, believe it or not, like shampoo or soap.
Beard shampoo.
And you just can't even get started. You know what I mean? Just imagine having every single social interaction you have, whether it's someone asking you a question on the street or on the train or in a store. Imagine every social interaction starting with, I don't know what you just said. I only speak English. Sorry. And then they're like, oh, fuck this fucking. And then you have to build from there. That's really
You're already in the hole.
It's a hard way to go about days and meet your neighbors and all that stuff is tough. So
that'd be very depressing.
But yeah, in all, it was pretty cool. Amsterdam's a ton of fun, but we were there during the COVID year in Amsterdam. So there's worse places to be locked down for sure. And my business partner lived right in the red light district. So like you go there and everything's closed. And normally when they were open, it's wall to wall people. There's Brits pissing and shitting in the street, just chaos 24 hours a day. So during that time we go out, it was so quiet. We take like his dining room table, we take it outside, set it by the canals. It's just nobody. It's probably the quietest Amsterdam's been since some guy with a mustache invaded in the 40s,
That's Christ. Well, on that note,
you invaded, walked in and just went, this is mine now.
Mine.
All right. I'm gonna do one more least fun, most fun before we move on. So I got 2 to pick from. I don't know which one's gonna hit better. So least fun, most fun, hosting a podcast.
Least fun thing about hosting a podcast. The least fun thing about hosting a podcast is having to do it when nobody's listening for so long. When you start a podcast, you just have to know that, like, listen, like, there's 15 people watching this, and in 6 months there's going to be 30, and that the game is just you just have to accumulate it. If you don't cross, nobody gives a shit until you're at 400, 350, 400 episodes. You can't expect to even be relevant in your space or in your community or even to your own audience until you're at 300 plus episodes. It's just the way it is. So that's the least fun. It's just constantly having to do it. You're like talking into the void. There's not a lot of things to reinforce you. You go to the gym, you get a good workout, and you feel good, right?
Yeah.
You do a podcast and nobody listens to it. If you don't enjoy just like having the conversation, you're fucked, because then nobody gonna pay you. There's not, you gotta eat a lot of shit, and not shit, but you got to spend a lot of time putting in reps before it matters. That is probably the least fun, and the most fun is once you cross that threshold. And then, like, you're like, oh shit, people know me. They know this project. People like this project. I thought I was just fucking around this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had that on kind of most of the projects that I've done. I've been fortunate to have a few of them that have grown, or we've got pretty large audiences. And so each of them has been very fun for different reasons. But a lot of that is once you start to get like connected with an audience and people really like you and like your product, then you get to meet tons of new people. And I've met people from all over the world. So getting past that point to the point where like, oh, this thing matters and is interesting. That's hands down best part.
Nice. To piggyback on that, you had mentioned, like, as far as podcasting, when no one's listening, if you're not actually enjoying the podcasting aspect of it, I feel like I love fucking doing this. Like, each week we have such a niche, awesome thing. We get to just shoot the shit with like homies for a couple hours every week, and like people, like I always say, like I'm doing this so when we get together at the Arnold and Lift Hard and Crew Falls, like, you've already fucking listened to this person talk for 2 hours. So like I'm gonna have interviewed or talked to to almost 50 people, and everyone that's there that has like been a loyal listener would have listened to over 50 people's episodes. Like, that's why I love this. I'm gonna keep this bitch running as long as we can.
Yeah, I even this morning, like, not this morning or this afternoon, as I was leaving work, I was like, I still have to fucking podcast tonight. I'm so tired. But then like as soon as it's time to get on here, I'm just like, hey, like, I'm so excited, because it is like, my least fun, most fun. The least fun is the, that 6 and 7/8 of days that I'm not doing this part of it.
Yeah.
This part of it. We got spoiled. We had an audience right off the bat.
Yeah.
We didn't really
And
have to build that audience, right?
And I tell you what, I think podcasts can either connect with a format. Like there's still a million completely untapped formats in podcasts that I think people could do. I think you could literally just read movie reviews, just read funny movie reviews, and you'd be fine. There's a million microscopic formats that I think someone could build, and it would grow very quickly. The problem with podcasting in general, I think, is platforms with which people find that they listen to podcasts or watch them on aren't actually useful at all in getting your podcast in front of new people. Mm-hmm. So to actually grow and to like turn the real corner, you still have to use your podcast to make the content
for social media.
But then you have to then do TikTok or Instagram reels. You still got to be making the clips, and then you still have to constantly produce content out of the thing you've already made, which that gets laborious. And sometimes it's like,
I don't have time for that.
And the stuff that clicks, that's the most interesting, with like the Conspiracy Randy project. It's like we end up with millions and millions of views and an audience of 100,000 plus people on the show, but I don't want to make the clips because I'm just fucking around. And if I say some shit where it's like, I think, JFK was probably actually killed by NASA. And I got somebody be like, "What, are you stupid?" I was like, "No, I'm fucking joking, dude."
Yeah.
And I can't deal with that type of engagement. So we kind of walked back the content creation on that. But that is definitely like one of the things about growing a podcast is like, to get your audience, you got to either spend a lot of time or you got to network really well. And some of networking is social media.
And a lot of podcasters, from what I can see, and I'm glad we never went that route, are deliberately provocative. And I have zero patience for people that are deliberately provocative. And
especially in your like outward marketing.
Yeah.
Like, I got a show that's very deliberately provocative, but we practically keep it in the cave, so it's just us being hilarious. You know what I mean? If I led with it, it'd be like putting your worst foot forward sometimes,
Yeah, and we do a little bit. We have a running joke here where I say things wrong. Yeah. Right? And you got to figure out whether I'm doing it on purpose or whether I'm fucking with you. And that's about like that's when people will get on there and be like, I can't believe he said this wrong. But like, that's the extent of our
Yeah.
provocation. And you get some people out there and they're just like, well, we're going to have this guy and he's going to say some mean things about this group of people. And you're like, the fuck are you doing? Like, you're not getting away with anything. You're not entertaining anybody. You're going to get some hate views.
It becomes like controversy porn or like confrontation porn or borderline
rage
stuff.
baiting,
it's like, yeah. And the problem was like with our stuff on TikTok that was going nuts. The problem was it wasn't even opinions I had. Like, I don't care. We're just making jokes. I think the biggest video we ever had was me making a connection to like the first Apple computer was sold for $666. It was like this very specific price. What a bunch of satanic bullshit. That was kind of it, right? And like this they got like 2.5 million views.
And people would fall for that. They'd be so over the top.
So then the next thing that happens is that podcast episode that's an hour of us talking about everything but that. All of a sudden, there's like 60,000 people watch it that week. I'm like, fuck! I don't want this. I don't want that.
That's not the people I want to watch this.
Exactly,
because they're watching it to find a reason to get mad.
Well, and that project is I like having fun with my friend. Doing that. So the audience will either get it or won't, and they'll come or they won't. But I don't want to like fucking embarrass my poor parents or some shit because I'm gonna get high in my friend's garage and tell jokes,
Yeah, I have to. I share the podcast on my personal page on Facebook 90% of the time, but depending on how creative Nate gets with our episode title, because we always pick like a funny episode title, and sometimes it's a little too like I can't have that on Facebook, so I don't need my like 80-year-old aunts and shit seeing that sexual innuendo. I just can't have that.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so Big Daddy Fat Sex, I got a big question for you here. We're gonna go with a Mount Rushmore question. So Mount Rushmore is it's a game that Tanner made up where because they're from South Dakota, because they're in South Dakota, they have Mount Rushmore, all this stuff. So I'm gonna just give you a topic and I want you to tell me of this, who is gonna go your top 4 on your Mount Rushmore mountain?
First off, you want to talk about how not South Dakota I am. I was about to ask, is Mount Rushmore 4 or 5, guys?
Nice.
So 4, we're good.
4,
right. Yeah, okay, we're good.
Yeah, and also the joke about Tanner inventing the game was pretty funny.
It's quite hilarious.
So Mount Rushmore of classic rap songs.
Oof. As a guy who's been accused of being a fan of rap music, the thing is too is like I've been a rap fan since I was like 7-8 years old. Right, my first time I ever got a rap album was the Warren G Regulate G Funk era. I tricked some girl in my like middle school class told me about it, so I was like, oh, I must get it. So I tricked my parents into buying it, and like I had that actually was on tape, right? And so ever since then, it just stuck with me forever. So it's like a giant fat white guy in South Dakota. I was a dance hip hop enthusiast growing up, but listening to like some really pretty horrible shit for like an 8 or 9 year old.
And it's not impacting, right? So yeah, so
I don't know. So you're talking songs or albums?
Songs. Let's go songs.
Songs. Okay. I mean, I think I'm 40. So everything I'm going to hit is going to be very, very dating. But
I'm also 40, so you're not.
Yeah,
I'm probably
obviously
39.
On the list in no particular order. I believe fully Dre's next episode is that off of the 2001. That is just it's. I think it's phenomenal. So I put that on the list. I don't go a ton further back than that. Like I don't really care about the NWA era. It was just before my time. So. I'm tempted to put like Regulators or something off that Warren G album, but that's not even my favorite song off of that album. I'm a huge fan of there's a Snoop Dogg. Oh, how about Snoop Dogg? What's My Name? That's on the list for sure.
Okay.
Put that on every once in a while. You forget about that one. And you're like, fuck, that one goes really, really, really hard. There was a sneaky project that not many people got super into. Snoop Dogg did a thing called The East Siders. Snoop Dogg presents The East Siders, spelled with extra A's.
Of course.
Okay. That there's an album, Deuces and Trays, The Old Fashioned Way. It's tremendous. And I'm tempted to put the single off of that, I Love It, on there, but it's not it. The song's called I Pledge Allegiance, and there's a home run. So look it up. That's number 3. Number 4. Fuck. I'm nearly at a blank. Um, who else is gonna be on this list? Do you guys have anyone you throw out on the list? Even an artist that
I'd throw X on there for sure.
DMX, yes.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm a
tell
big
you what,
fan
though.
of Earl.
Here's another. How about this? I won't even do this. You said X. I'm gonna go the wrong X just because it's a fun track. Exhibits. There's 2 albums that Exhibit released in there that are like crazy good. Like people, you sleep on them, you'll forget for a decade. And I might go either DNA or probably Alcoholic. Actually, might be the one off of that album. So this is going to be obscure. These are not the most popular ones, but those are going to be my 4. If I got to move a room, those are the 4.
Some of our listeners will go seek them out just because they're on here.
Find them. It's a jam. You'll have a blast.
Yeah, definitely. I'd throw X on there for sure, but I'm just a DMX fan. Like,
and I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Since I was in high school, I think.
Never a big rap guy, but a couple that stood out in that era. It was like songs that I'd listen to my older brothers play who were into rap. Was it Coolio's Gangster's Paradise, and then Crossroads by Bone Thugs. Those are definitely those are like my 2 like go to late '90s rap song, or probably midish line '90s rap songs that I actually could know the lyrics to.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Here's one. Here's a little gem for those of you guys that do like this. There's an entire album that most people don't know exists. Nate Dogg has a solo album that he released called Music and Me. Nate Dogg was always the feature. All the best songs, there's all these best songs always featured Nate Dogg. It was wonderful. Nate Dogg did release an album, and each album or each song of that features kind of a bunch of people that he also was on. So there's a Nate Dogg album called Music and Me. I believe most classic rap albums and even new rap albums, all these, like, if you had to pick your favorite rap album of all time, if we're being real, there's 3 to 5 songs that are good, and the rest are pretty skippable. That's just the reality of it, right? You put on Dr. Dre's Chronic 2001 album, and there's 3, maybe 4 that I'm going to listen to. The rest we're going to move through, even though they are whatever. But Nate Dogg's Music and Me album is probably like 80% fucking awesome, and if you haven't heard it, they're all as much home runs as any of his features. So there's a lot of gems in there. I got accused by a young black man bartender. He came up to me and he was just talking to me, and he says, how did he put this? He was just trying to talk to me about music, making a conversation. He goes, well, you obviously don't listen to rap music. So, and he just went on, and I've never been so racially profiled and hurt in my life, because I told you how much it is. And I'm like, you know what? The whole time he says it, then he goes on to tell me about Drake. And I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah.
But I let him have his thing, because all I could take away from it, I was like, you know what? Even as a 40-year-old middle-class white guy in the Midwest, I guess racism does affect everybody. And I've never felt so attacked in my fucking life than being told that I obviously don't listen to rap music.
Yeah.
This is the most how dare you moment I've ever had.
Getting into Ubers is really fun up here. Because you'll get in there and they'll be, like an Indian driver or something, and they'll be like, oh, I'll put on music for you, and they'll put on like country or something. And then I was like, no, let me put on something, and I'll go ahead and put on like I'll listen to Hindi heavy metal. Yeah. And I'll be like, no, let me show you something, right? And this dude's going like, you fucking listen to this? I was like, yeah, I do. Do you guys remember the Loud Rocks album? All right. I'm gonna bet Big Matt, who I'm very sorry couldn't make it tonight. He really wanted to be on here to talk to you, but mostly squat videos, Matt. But he had to bail at the last second, as fucking usual. Yeah, I'm gonna bet he's gonna know this one, and maybe Big Ryan, don't shake his hand, and possibly Big Murph. And if anybody else gets this, the balloons are up. So Loud Rocks came out. It was an MTV collaboration album where they took heavy metal bands and rap bands and put them together. So the 2 songs that are sticking out right now is Shame On, which was System of a Down and The Woo.
Yes. That was when Surge somehow got the N-word pass.
Yeah, and everybody was
crazy.
Just like,
the whole time I heard it, I was like, I guess he's browner than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I just thought he was, you watch System of a Down, you just assume he's mostly a white guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, dude, that's intense. It didn't age well. It doesn't age well.
On TikTok right now, there was this person that was like, is Serge Tankian a good person? And then they talked about all of the amazing advocacy he's done. And then they went, but he also said the N-word. And I was like, in the studio with Wu.
In the studio with Wu-Tang, and they were like, hey, you can say it. Listen, I'm probably not going to pull the trigger in any other capacity.
Yeah.
But if Wu-Tang says, listen, we're going to say this and it's going to go public, we're going to defend you on this, I'm going to be like, fine. This is for all the times I've listened to this song in my car. We're going to be fine.
So then you've also got Incubus teamed up with Big Pun. So you've got the singer from Incubus, Brandon Boyd, doing the I Don't Want to Be a Player No More.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing that chorus. And that was incredible. Like, that was about the time the Spawn album came out, which was like rock bands and techno bands, or at least like techno-ish bands. So, you know, if anybody out there remembers or has any other good songs off there, throw that in the Discord, because I've got it saved on my playlist.
Now, is that where DJ Cumberbund got all his inspiration?
DJ Cumberbund. Love DJ Cumberbund. What a good interview he had. Anyway, that's the music talk.
I forgot he was on their podcast.
We try and do a lot of music talk because, I'd listen to a fucking ton of genres, and it usually shocks people the acute knowledge I have of so many genres. But I got a little thing here that says I can generally catch him. Oh,
about 5 left. I got
5 minutes.
About 5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. We're at an hour and a half, right?
Yeah. Okay. Nope. Nobody told me.
I just got a ride picking me up here.
So no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
In that case, we will just jump into
lightning round. Yeah, lightning round.
Shit.
So give us.
Sorry, guys.
No, I just didn't know, or else I definitely would have stopped meandering like a psycho.
No, I just forgot it until my dude pulled up. But it's my brother. He'll be fine.
Yep. So just give us their 30-second answers for unpaid. So it's unpaid and underrated. Unpaid is obviously overrated, and no one wants to be unpaid, and underrated is underrated. So unpaid or underrated, Eat the Damn Sandwich blog.
Oof. Don't ever listen to it.
So unpaid.
Unpaid.
All right.
I prefer to bury that. My mom, I'll tell you a little thing. My mom fucking found all of that. She like looked up in the Wayback Machine and hunted it all down and assembled them into a book for me. And I'm telling you guys, if you create things, the last thing you want to do is have early stage things that you've created be presented to you like it's an achievement, because it sucks compared to the things you do now. And so, don't ever. This is why I tell Tanner, I'm like, you can delete any of the blogs we did too. Get them off there.
So unpaid or underrated conspiracies? Unpaid or underrated?
Underrated. That's what's up.
What's your favorite conspiracy?
Favorite? I mean, the moon landing is still the funnest one. Mm-hmm. Well, first off, listen, I don't believe the Earth is flat. Flat Earth let's go this route. How about this? Flat Earth is my favorite conspiracy because it is the greatest, it's the perfect example of why conspiracies develop at all. Like, it's cultural. Flat Earth is a great cultural phenomenon because it is about, no, I don't trust anyone who's giving me any of this information about anything. Yeah. Right. If you get to the point where you only trust the things you can see out of your eyes as far as you can, and you go that anyone who knows math is just doing some weird science sorcery or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's such a great, people that get very clammed up and like defensive about like flat earthers are out of their fucking mind. It's like, no, they just don't trust anybody. And that might make them crazy. And a lot of them are the worst. And that's the problem too. But so I'll go that in my opinion is a very fun one, because it's like not trusting in institutions, not trusting in anything. Flat Earth is a very, very fun one. It doesn't go very far. But I will say the moon landing, ain't nobody ever been to the fucking moon. And you get to the point where when you say this, that's a fun one, because there is a lot of people that you will use the term we. No, because we, and I'm like, oh, you're a fanboy, or you were there. And so the moon landing is always a fun one to break out, because people get very defensive about it, like you're telling them that they didn't graduate high school or something.
They're taking it personally.
You and I were as close to getting to the moon as each other. So let's just be real. So it's a fun one to poke at. I don't get too dogmatic. about any of them, about what I really believe. But those ones, if you poke at NASA is a pretty heavily marketed in everybody's childhood stuff. Like in everybody's childhood, everyone's very attached to NASA and spacemen and outer space and all this stuff. So if you tell somebody that fucking space is fake, they'll lose their goddamn mind and they'll just be mad at you, whether you're joking or not. And so those are two pretty funny ones.
Up until we started this podcast, Keith did not know platypus exist.
I didn't. Yeah, that's
you just thought it was like
I've
CGI.
Never heard of it.
I just
Who's
never
been
seen
stapling these beaks on these arms.
I've never seen a picture of one in my entire life. All right, my last one. I know you're in a time crunch, so if we can just do everything else, like we'll keep it short, I guess. My last one will be Megan folding your blanket on your side of the bed. Unpaid or underrated?
It's the goddamn worst thing in the world.
Now, what do you mean by that? Like the
unpaid.
bedspread, or just like an extra blanket? Like I don't get it.
They call it, it's like a Scandinavian style of making the bed, right? And this is the thing we actually sleep on the hard surface floor, which may be a whole other thing. But I like the hard surface of the floor with just like a blanket on the floor. And then I sleep under a blanket, of course. I'd love to be at bed height because I'm enormous, but I like the firmness of the floor. So my perfect bed would be a concrete slab about as high as a bed with my shit. But when we were in Europe, people would like the places you'd stay, Airbnbs or rental properties. There's two comforters, one folded on one side of the bed, one folded on the other. So each person gets their own comforter in their bed. And that's fine. But what she does is she just put this on here to get me to rant about this. That's what she folds it meticulously, like smaller than it's, you know what I mean? It then becomes like half of my size in this nice little tight folded thing. And she goes to bed 1 or 2 hours before me. So every night I make my way to bed, tired, falling asleep on the couch, stoned. And I have to like get on my knees and undo this. You ever see you ever play like paper football, the little paper triangles?
Yeah.
People flick around.
Oh yeah.
It's borderline that level of like it's locked up. So I'm like on my bed. Just all I want to do is close my eyes, go to sleep, and have just unwind this whole fucking thing with your feet. It's the worst way to end your day. If you had to start your day with that level of bullshit, you'd be a really grumpy person.
All right.
They call that irreconcilable differences, I think.
That's an agree to disagree level.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go next. Unpaid or underrated? Ketchup.
Ketchup is completely underrated. I get where people are like, it's trash.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a client who gets mad at his kids for putting ketchup on a hot
fucking
dog.
hate ketchup. Yeah.
I get it. And I get it. It's like, is there a trashier condiment than ketchup?
Mayonnaise.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Mayonnaise it's just in Europe though. It's not even that it's hip. It's just culturally people just put mayonnaise on all sorts of shit. So ranch might be trashier than ketchup.
Ranch is probably trashier than ketchup. I use ranch for dipping my veggies in, but I don't use it for literally anything else.
But I use ketchup in a way that's trashier than anyone uses ranch.
I swear to God, if you put steak on.
I just put it on steak for sure. I like not all the steak. Let's be real. But I eat so much steak, and I like ketchup more than I like steak. I just do.
That's
you know what I mean? Like I like ketchup more than I like cheeseburgers, and I eat a lot of cheeseburgers. That's just always with ketchup. I mean, guys, I've done some shit. Like I'll make like burritos and stuff. And when I get tired of the salsa halfway through, I'm like, I'll spoon a little ketchup on. I'm not proud of it. This is just the reality of it. I could lie about it and be like super cool. And I'll tell you this. See, I know you don't like ketchup. I don't think you're being too hard about it. But the people who are anti-ketchup, it's like some hipster virtue signaling bullshit a little bit.
Is it?
You're like high, not you. I get high-roaded by people about my ketchup use a lot. It's like I quit anytime I want. I just don't want to.
I just don't. It's just vinegar, tomatoes, and sugar to me.
It's nuts. And as a person who I've always said, if I consume, let's be real, probably how many calories you suppose are in like an actual cup, like a size cup of ketchup? What are you going to guess? Probably a couple hundred, right?
Yeah, 150, 200.
I mean, I'll have that every day, hands down. So if ketchup causes cancer or it's going to turn my frogs gay or whatever, like it's going to, I'm getting it. I'm getting the full dose really consistently.
That's a really good use of that phrase. That's a really good use of that. I'm going to start working that into my life.
Yeah. Turning my frogs gay is a lot better.
All right. Unpaid or underrated shots of Rumple Mints.
Rumple Mints are extremely underrated. Now you have to only buy the shooters. So that's the size.
I was told to
right?
get one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Rumplemans, here's the issue. If you buy Rumplemans, at least in the States, if you get a 1 liter bottle of Rumplemans, right? So that's, what would that be? How many 1 ounce, or what were they, 2 ounce, 1 ounce,
Jesus
whatever
Christ.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 1.5. I think these are.
somewhere. So it's I think it's two. It works out to like 50. It'll be like 50 2 ounce things in this. So I did all the math. Like, you can buy Rumpleman's shooters, a 2 ounce shooter, for $1 everywhere. It's always
Mhm.
$1. So I can go and I can buy 50 of those for $50. Now, am I wrong on this, or is it 100? Maybe this is bad time for me to be doing Rumplemans, man. What I'm saying is this: if you're gonna buy Rumplemans, only buy the shooters. You
Yep.
do the math on your own. It'll work. It works out much better. So, yeah, Rumpleman's extremely underrated. It's my favorite. It's 100 proof. It gets weird. You got to like only open the night with it. You cannot introduce it in the middle or towards the end. It gets too weird too fast. You got to keep the 100 proof liquor. Just got to stay far away from anything past the initiation of the night.
Yeah, or you become the liquor. Like I get that.
And with Rumplemints, you don't have to brush your teeth either, because it's like super minty. So you can
good.
take it in the morning before work or whatever you're trying to do.
And nobody would be the wiser.
Yeah.
It's killing
Wash
the
your
germs.
Zyn out with it.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, unpaid or underrated chicken McNuggets.
They're underrated still. Like,
Yeah?
I don't get to McDonald's much, but they still rule. I'll tell you guys, I was tempted. I just didn't have the day to make it work. We're not in a place that'll do it. I was really tempted to try and put down like 50 plus nuggets today on your episode.
Like on the episode?
I wanted to do it.
Would have been
But I was like,
amazing.
if I have to talk, it's going to be the fattest.
No, that would have been the worst episode.
It's already, I'm trying to get my fat breathing away from the microphone, but it's already going to be that would have already been a problem. And then you would have really, being cool about my ketchup use would have gone away really quickly if you see how I would eat 55 McNuggets.
Have you ever actually done like a shot of ketchup out of have you ever squirted ketchup in your mouth from the bottle?
Never straight from the bottle.
Okay,
I have taken like the little crinkly paper cups or whatever. I have just done those before. Not, by the way, that's never on purpose, because I don't like ketchup just to have on. It's a thing. It's a other food as a ketchup delivery device. I don't want to I wouldn't never like dip my finger in ketchup and just eat the ketchup. That'd be crazy. But I'll dip pizza in it every once in a while if I'm high.
Fries and grilled cheese definitely are my favorite things to put.
I do, yeah, and eggs is another one too, where I get that that's gross, but like I'll do it too.
What is it about grilled cheese lately with me? I'm just so fucking into grilled cheese lately.
I love grilled cheese.
Me too.
All day.
Grilled cheese is hella underrated.
All right, well, you passed unpaid and underrated, and I again apologize. I didn't know you had a time limit, or else I definitely would have stopped.
I just had no. You're good. I just had no idea what time it was. That's all good.
All right.
So I guess we can see you out, and then Joey and I can probably do a little bit. We can stay on for a little bit.
That was my plan too.
Yep.
So
Big Tyler, you want to tell everybody where to find?
Sync up now.
Oh God, I'm gonna. Isn't that called the Menzies or something? Where can they find you at?
Just follow me on Instagram at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler EFFIN Stone, as it's always been. Make sure you guys are obviously following Massonomics. Projects that I do have going on right now, I do still business consulting for gym owners, larger fitness centers, functional fitness gyms. I do have a podcast for that. If you're not interested in the business side of fitness, don't fucking listen to it. We're not there to be entertaining. But I do have the Gym Owners podcast, and which is actually really solid. My business partner John. We just help a lot of gyms do kind of the right thing, right? If you're going to try to help people with weight loss, you're like, here's how you actually do it, instead of being a gym that doesn't give a fuck about the people that come through your doors. The other project I have is secret. If you don't like it, don't tell anybody. If you listen to it once and you don't like it, don't tell anybody else about it. Just don't listen to any more of it. But the Conspiracy Randy podcast is me and my best friend Andy. It's the funnest shit. We're probably going to be rebranding soon, as long as there isn't anything fun to conspiracy meltdown about this next election. So we keep hanging on to the name, because we started Conspiracy Randy during the COVID stuff. So the name Conspiracy was very...
Yeah, I listened to the pilot the other day.
It was a buzzword. And now I'm like, we got to hang on till this election's over. And then we might just rename it like the Randy Sessions or something. Because it really is mostly us just getting barbecued in the garage and talking shit and telling jokes.
That's the spirit.
My best friend, who's the funniest person I know. So So that's it. Conspiracy Randy. You can find at Conspiracy Randy on Instagram. But for the most part, I don't do much on there other than episode announcements. I'm not making content or clips because I don't want to embarrass my family. But it's a fucking fun hang. Again, if you don't like it, just listen. If it's not for you, don't. Just don't try to like it if you don't like it.
If you don't like it, shut up.
It's just a riot. It's a ton of fun. It's the most fun I have every week. So check it out.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
See you in July.
I'll jump out and I'll just message you guys about that other platform stuff.
Yeah, cool. Sure. See you in July, buddy.
See you in July. Later. All right. So make sure you go follow Big Tyler, everyone. And yeah, that was really interesting.
Really staying true to form here with the stealing the Massonomics format, because now guest jumps off and we'll fuck around for a few minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like we had to have done that first. I mean, I know. I'm sure they stole everything else from us.
Well, I also I'm very sorry I didn't know he had a time limit. I wouldn't have gone so much into rap music. There were so many things I wanted to cover. I didn't even get to talk about half the shit Megan sent me.
Yeah, me neither.
But that's all right. It is what it is.
I will try to vicariously tell his poop story for you and anyone listening that hasn't heard it.
No, I haven't heard it.
It's the best one ever. I'm going to butcher it because it's probably been like 5 years since I heard it. But essentially, so they got married, him and Megan. He got shit hammered drunk at the wedding and was just super sick the next day as they were like driving to either back home or to the destination of the honeymoon, whatever it was. So, just imagine just getting married to your wife, your car's full of wedding presents, you're driving down the road and you just get the bubble guts and there's like nowhere to go. And he basically, he does such a good job telling the story. It's amazing. But, essentially they pull off in the side of the road in a field, essentially. And he has to go have explosive diarrhea hanging off of a tree in a field while his new bride is just in the car kind of trying not to look at him. And it was, I wish he was here to tell the story. But go back and, he's told it multiple times on the podcast. I don't know. We'll get someone to actually dig through the archive and figure out what episode it actually was. But it was probably the best poop story I've ever heard. And I, apologize we didn't get to it. Just a little miscommunication with the host and the guest. But, you guys tune in for us each week, not the guests. So, now the fun starts. We really should have had we need a tab of stuff to talk about when we need to kill time every now and then.
Well, wedding stories is a pretty fun one. I have myself. I don't do weddings anymore. That's just the rule I have come to at this point in my life. And I explain to people, I've been in over a dozen weddings. I have been everything from ring bearer when I was a small child to now groom at least once. And I've been the best man. I've been an usher. I've been everything. And I just don't want to do it anymore. It's so expensive. I made one last, obviously for Big Steve, my friend, because it was his second wedding. I was in his first wedding and he was like, I really need you there, man. And I was like, absolutely. For you, absolutely. But I just don't want to do it anymore. That when we got married, not a lot of people know this. It was the third wave of the lockdowns. Right? When they were just you can't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
So it's January 22nd. It's the coldest day of the year. Or the coldest day of the winter. I had just got a vasectomy. So my daughter was born December 1st. I went and got cut January probably 13th or 14th. But because I was on parental leave for my daughter, I was like, well, let's just go get the marriage license and do it. And then we did that and they locked us down. So I actually didn't get to have a wedding, but that was kind of on purpose because I was like, oh no, now only
you can't come and make it about yourself, you selfish fucks.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, only a couple people get to show up. So we legally could only have a certain amount of people. So I ended up shoveling all this snow because we ended up getting 3 feet of snow into an ice wall around our campfire. And we got married in a secret ceremony with just my parents and kids there. And we didn't tell anybody until the following summer that we had finally tied the knot because we just didn't want people to do anything about it.
And by tying the knot, you mean your vasectomy, right?
I was snipping the
So
knot. That sucked.
I was gonna say so Big Joey, unpaid or underrated vasectomies?
No, never again. You know what? Like, I don't know if you know this. Hey, here's a fun fact. As a person with blue eyes and red hair, I am A, more susceptible to pain, and B, less susceptible to anesthesia.
Ow,
So,
that hurts my
yeah,
dong.
when the guy was like, "You're gonna feel a pinch as I freeze the area," I was like, "That's okay." And then he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go," and I was like, "No, it's not frozen yet." And he's like, "Okay, trust me." It wasn't frozen, and I went into pure panic mode because it felt like somebody had taken a golf club to that
Oh.
area. So yeah, and here I am like
Did you have like I always like
oh, you're cutting in and out, so I'm just gonna keep talking until you're back. Yeah, you're all frozen on me.
there we
There
go.
you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, anytime I know I'm gonna have an intense pain, like I have to like hold something, like the like squeeze balls or like
Mhm.
like anything. I have to be able to like exert pressure
I
on
wasn't supposed to
something.
feel anything, but he just didn't
Uh,
listen to me when I said no. You have to wait a minute.
Even if it was in just an anxiety thing, just being able
Yeah.
to like just
Oh no,
squeeze the shit out of one of those little stress balls.
no, I was like, no, this is all fine until it wasn't. And then yeah,
Yeah.
that was like the worst experience. But you're also not supposed to lift anything for like a week. And then I shoveled all the snow into that ice wall
Oh
just to make
Jesus.
sure that that's what we wanted. It protected us from the wind, made everything a little easier. But yeah, that's my story. Anyway, this all comes from I was thinking about Tanner's key story from his wedding.
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's a really funny trick.
So it looks like they're getting. I hope they're getting a pretty big turnout for. I think they did just named it. I can't remember what they named it, but it was the Crew Fall Showdown or something.
They,
Or
you
no,
know, they
the Watertown Showdown, wasn't it?
at
Yeah.
least they didn't steal my Waterton. That's okay. I was listening to the podcast. They're like, we don't have like a crew name for this, and I was like, Waterton, because I made that one thing in
Mhm.
reference or in passing. I think with was it Hannah?
Yes. So it's the Crew Lift Hard Live Easy Garage Gym Throwdown in Watertown, Saturday, June 15th. So anyone, if you're listening to this and you live anywhere within a couple hours of that, as someone that was at Crew Falls, and like if it's anything, I mean, it's not going to be Crew Falls, but like just hanging with the homies. Like hanging with the homies is worth a 2 or 3 hour drive, like
Yeah.
easily. So go do that. Don't disappoint. The Build Fast team.
Yeah, no, and you know, I remember Nate saying like he wants people to come to his gym. How do I get them to do that? Right? And then this is a good way, like that you've got everybody coming to your gym.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. He's gonna get like content. Like I want my gym tour on their YouTube. Like I'm so jealous. Good for him. Good
We'll
for
do
him.
our own. I can't imagine why we won't do our own.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll tour the Dilf dungeon.
We could, because like when we do need to start taking advantage of our YouTube. It's just like who the like oh yeah, big shout out to Carp. Carp helped put together that reel last week for me. Or I guess it was well, yeah, it would be last week when you're listening to this of Tanner shouting out the barbell rescue brush, code unpaid, etc. And he clipped it, and he even like he played it for like 20 seconds, and then like did some screenshot or some pictures that he took in his garage of like the things Tanner was talking about. So really appreciate that, Big Carp.
And
I
Big
wish
Tanner.
yeah, Big Tanner. Yeah, we definitely stole. Hope you weren't gonna. Tanner wasn't gonna shout out Barbell Rescue on Reels on Instagram because he doesn't. Thankfully he doesn't have a like they could like wipe us out if they were just like, can we get an affiliate code with these like 3 companies and then like just completely
They'd
annihilate
murder us. Yeah.
our ability to buy a boat someday. You
But no,
bastards.
actually, I remember listening to it, and he was like, "Oh, and I use code unpaid." Like he just said
Yeah.
it like that
Oh
was the thing.
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the guys are great about Still need to get Tommy to buy one.
Nah,
Talking about
he's a
it.
big home gym guy now. Big
He
home gym
is.
guy.
He is. It's kind of cool seeing his stories. Like, after not seeing Tommy lift like on Instagram for literally years, I feel like it's kind of great to see him like posting stories of working out in the gym. And the other day when he posted, it was like, 70-80% humidity and like 90 degrees. And I was like, well, that sucks. And then I had to go out in the garage the next day and it was about that. And I was like, well, this does fucking suck.
Yeah, I don't sweat a lot, but I was in even the gym here was hot as fuck. But
That one, so when I did my log press was a Tuesday when it was like 90 outside. Like I always just thought I didn't sweat much because I don't like my basement's like fucking 70 degrees max pretty much. So like I just don't sweat a ton when I work out. Being outside doing that log, like I was dying. Like my entire shirt was soaking wet. Like sweat was just like dripping off I had a stall mat puddle of sweat. I've just haven't experienced that because I haven't worked out in like a hot setting in so long. So it was kind of cool. I'm kind of digging the garage, but I ain't gonna do it if it was fucking like if it was 10 degrees warmer, I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna die.
No, I mean, put a fan out there because
Yeah.
sometimes you want to burn a few extra calories by doing it in the heat. It's not the blurst of times.
Yeah.
Hey, big ups to me. I didn't go to the bathroom once.
I know.
Yeah,
I
here I
thought
was thinking I'd be dying after getting as sick as shit on Tuesday of this week.
that was funny because like I thought Tyler was trying to signal that he had to go to the bathroom for
Me
like
too.
I thought he was saying like I have to go shit because I'm gonna be 5 minutes, and then it was just like no, I gotta go. I was like, oh, okay, unpaid or underrated lightning round. So
Yeah,
but it's all good. That was a pretty cool get. So we like kind of sprinkling in the non everyday crew just because it's still Massonomics adjacent. So
absolutely.
I think the people enjoy it. So
We got some big names coming. We got some
yeah,
names that people aren't expecting and we're not really announcing, but there's some stuff coming as long as people's schedules work out, right?
absolutely.
Uh,
Um, I'm still hitting that obsidian, man. That stuff that Carp got me. It's not even like the high test, and it's still just the fact that it's just
I know.
new. It gets me bad. Like, and it's been good, like real. It's been good, like story content because like I'm not even playing it up. I'm not like extra sniffing. Like I was just like because I have two bottles now, and I'm not paying attention to which one it is, and one's at like 30% and one's at like 99%. And when I hit the harder one, it's like oh fuck me.
All right, for the
Uh,
Obsidian Ammonia fans, he has the Ultra.
yeah, which is like
Uh,
nothing, right?
no, God, no, none of it's nothing. But the problem is when you're stupid like me, right? Like the nose bleach is where I want to land, but also I'm stupid and it hurts so much, and I don't care and I don't stop myself. So, yeah, that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about is you were like this stuff sucks, and I was like, oh, he's got some strong shit, and I walked over and it was the MK Ultra, and I was like, oh, I'm not even going to use it. And that was,
I'm
and that was,
sensitive.
I should
I'm
have brought some
very
ampules, but
I'm very new to this one. Yeah, don't waste your last few on me because I would have just probably puked in your face if
so
like one of those near me.
interestingly, the ampules, and I've talked about them before, they're not as strong as some of his other stuff,
Okay.
but they hit in a different way. So they're not as overwhelmingly ammonia as the Ultra or the Dim Mak or the nose bleach, but they just hit so perfectly that it's like I don't hate doing it, but it still has the same effect. Whereas the nose bleach, if you breathe the nose bleach in wrong, it traps itself in your nostril. So you'll breathe it in, okay, and then you'll take the bottle away, and then you'll take another breath, and it's
Ah,
still there.
yeah, I
And
can't do
that
that.
second breath is what fucking kills you.
That did kill my lift. That would just destroy my ability to get
I've
a heavy lift.
I've actually watched people at meets where I bring some of the high powered shit, and like they'll come back and they'll look at me and one eye is shut and like bleeding, and they're like, I got the lift though.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, I don't think I could perform under that kind of like that kind of distraction, I guess. Big Jen got her new banner this week from Plate Snacks, so thanks for her ordering that. She was very nervous. She
Stop
reached
it.
out. She
I didn't
reached
even
out to
see
me.
that.
Yeah, she got it. So, because she DM'd me that she ordered it, and she was kind of like, the guy fulfilled the order within like 12 hours. I'm really, really nervous that he didn't like make the right thing. And I'm like, honey, that's like we've literally ordered like you're like the 12th one. So like that guy's got my shit on file. He's made about 1,000 stickers for us and like at least a dozen banners. So he's got it. All you have to just do is say unpaid and underrated and pick your size, and he'll hook you up. I really wish he could like is it consignment basically because like he had initially talked about like I would like, be so much nicer if actually like just put it on the website and we can get more than the fucking 20 the small percentage that we do get out of it. If it was just like all right, well, since they're literally only coming to your website to buy our banner, like just fucking give me an extra $5 or something, man. Like you're not gonna sell that without us. So, but I'm not gonna fucking harp on him too hard about it. It's just something he mentioned it in passing, but I didn't really follow up with him about it. So I don't
No,
know. I said
and that might even be something that goes to the higher ups, the suits, as we've
yeah,
been calling them.
sisters figure it out.
Yeah, and it's so cool that people are doing that for us. Like, you've got one in your gym. I don't have one. Again, I don't have room for banners. I'm not paying more money for any more banners.
No,
But
I feel that, and shit's like so expensive too. It's like banners are like a flag's like $30 max. You get a banner, it's like oh, it's gonna be like $80. Like art, it all depends. Like wherever you go, they're slightly more than flags or
legs,
fleek. I can't even say it. Like I can
legs.
type it. Like, I don't fleeg like
From the guy that says gin and milk,
fleeg.
you
That's
should be able
true.
to say flag.
You would think, but
One would think. No, that's awesome, Jen. Thanks for getting that. That's pretty dope.
Yes.
Like I mentioned earlier, Dilf Dungeon stickers are probably on their way. I have some weird insight. So the Jackalope, who will be at the Lift Hard Live Easy, you might want to give him a follow. He thought the Dilf Dungeon name was really funny, and I still think it's the funniest gym name I've ever heard. But yeah, once those stickers are out, I might ship you some so you can send them out to Jeff, or I'll just send them directly to Jeff.
Yeah, just send them. Well, I mean, yeah, unless you can hand them off to me at a meetup or something, just hand. Yeah, I don't know what it would cost to get to Canada, but I think I sent him such a fat sticker envelope that I like had to like we didn't know how many stamps to put on it, so we just put like multiple.
Such
or,
a
like,
fat stack.
Hope this makes it, buddy. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to just give him everything I have left whenever I see him in July.
At some point, it's just going to be bill to me, mail to Jeff.
Bill to Tanner. You're not billing me shit. Fuck that.
Yeah, bill to Tanner.
Yeah. Tanner's which has been so nice. Like, I know we still talk about our affiliates and shit, but like I felt like there was like a couple months there when we were just like forcing them down people's throats, and I was just like, all right, I don't want to do this like stock read every week anymore. And like, Tanner, okay, cool, you'll pay for him, sweet, no worries, appreciate you, brother. We'll bring a better podcast to you now.
Is there any better supporter than Massonomics?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, not to mention, we still have our plate snacks. We still have Home Gym Con. We still have Obsidian Ammonia.
I do have Home Gym Con. Jake messaged me the other day. He's like, I think I owe you like $50 for like the 7 tickets that we sold with your name on it. And I was like, I just let it roll into next year. That's fine. Like it might not even been that much, whatever it was. I was just like, I'm not worried about it. Just like, I'll get it from you whenever, whatever's convenient, or we can just roll it into next year. They've already got the date booked for next year. For Home Gym Con 2025. Gonna be the last weekend of June. They're literally already at like 62 vendors signed up. Jeez. So there was literally so year one there was like 30 vendors, maybe 40. No, it was like 30 vendors. The year we just had, so year two, I think like at its peak there was like almost 90 signed up, but about 85 said to 80 to 85, call it 80 were actually there because a lot of people just dropped out kind of last minute with just life. And they're already at 62 with like the majority of re-ups, and then like some of the bigger ones are still there. There's only a couple of like of the larger companies that were there last year that haven't signed up yet, but it's fucking like, how many businesses commit that far out when like they don't even know if they have any kind of return on investment already from like what they just did a month ago. So
would you say that it's growing exponentially?
It is. It does seem to be, and it'll be in Louisville this year. So anyone that kind of looked at flights last year, and were like, well, I don't want to fly to Indianapolis or Louisville and then drive an hour and a half to fucking French Lick. You don't have that issue anymore. Just get to Louisville, and it's going to be right there.
And make sure you show up. Otherwise, Keith is going to lambaste you on social media and bully you into showing up again.
And then I'll shake your hand and get pictures with you, though, because then we'll bury that old hatchet. That was good. I'm trying to just, I know we always say, like, I am so fucking busy. I don't have time to have made up fucking aggression with people anymore. Like, I just.
Really? Because it seems like your favorite thing.
Well, I still like, well, let's put it this way. Like, if I call someone out or roast someone now, it's either you've either caught me on a moment where I'm just ready to like, because I also use that as like therapy to vent because I'm just being pissy about something and I'd rather yell at someone else than go home and fucking get in a fight with my wife. So that's just easier. But I still feel that I've definitely reeled that in a lot.
Absolutely. I'm still going to teach you about it, though. That's what we're
here for. Yeah. No, but I also like, I don't know. I like to keep people honest. I don't want everything I give people shit about. It's just like, well, you lied to us. You're a lying piece of shit, and I'm going to tell people that you're a liar. And then until you remedy it.
Got to turn that rage into disappointment. Mellow it out a bit, man.
Yeah. And that's where we're at.
We talked about this like episode like 3. Where it was just like, I can yell at the guy in front of me for changing lanes and cutting me off and be mad about it. Or I could just go, why are you so dumb? And just turn it into disappointment. And then I feel a little better afterwards.
I gotta try that. But I'm disappointed, and so many people disappoint me. My God.
I'm disappointed. Okay, hold on. I didn't bring this up last week, and I really wanted to.
What you got?
I actually said to Morgan, I didn't talk about this, and anybody that's still listening, I congratulate you.
We're still under our normal mark.
Getting to your house sucks. So we ended up missing the turn into the hotel because the way that the hotel is set up, there's one entrance and it's off a fucking 6-lane highway.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that twice. And the only way to get back was to get back on the freeway and cycle back.
And go to another exit. Yeah. So that added a half hour.
Morgan, and I was just like, all the shit I've ever given Keith for being mad about driving in his city where I've never driven here. I get it. This city sucks. It is so poorly laid out.
Yeah, logistically, it's bad.
Yeah, and then like getting to the restaurant after your place to try and feed my kids. Like, they wouldn't let us in the first one. We had to go to the second one, and it's all one-way streets. How do I get back to the fucking restaurant? So
yeah, I remember you saying that the distillery just too busy. They had like an hour wait.
They were like, it's 30-minute wait. And I was like, my kid's not. He's already half asleep in the backseat. Like but he needs to eat before he goes to bed, or he'll wake up in the middle of the night in a hotel with no food. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Like, I actually see your rage at driving in that city because that city is not laid out for driving. That city is laid out to create the most anger and resentment towards other cars. And like every lane has its own light. What the fuck is that about? Like,
there's a lot of lights. Yeah, you have to be like, is this my light or is this my neighbor's light? And
I know, and that's insane. Like 2 turning lanes, 1 straight lane, and 1 turning lane, and there's 4 lights, and they're all different.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is that one red? Can I go? Like, why is his is green, mine is yellow? Like, what do yeah, so I gotta say, I finally see it your way in that sense that it's absolutely a nightmare to drive in that city.
Yeah, it doesn't help. I'm like, there's 3, like, so within 1 mile of my house, there's a massive hospital, a medium-sized hospital, a massive college, and a semi-large community college. And like,
and those colleges are what fucked my entire hotel.
Oh yeah, because of graduation. So
I almost didn't get a hotel. Like, I almost canceled the trip.
And you probably like I feel bad. Like, I don't think about that half the time. Well, I've never had anyone like actually come stay in a hotel to train. I've had people that drive like an hour or 2, but not 3 hours.
If the kids weren't there, I would have just driven home. But
yeah, no, I gotcha. It ended up taking 3 hours too, even though like the GPS was 2, but it took you about 3.
Yeah, well, you gotta
kids and stops, etc.
You stop, change diapers. Do you have
3 hours is 3 hours is a commitment. That's a fucking haul for sure.
It was totally worth it.
Awesome. I had a good time. That was a blast. I think I enjoyed just the last half hour and playing with the log when we were just shooting the shit and then drinking a beer and shooting the shit some more. So
we didn't really talk about like kind of in depth because we had guests and stuff, but the lifting was lifting. Like, that was fun. Pulling the 405 when I really shouldn't have. But yeah, when we finally were like, when Morgan was like, the kids got to go, you need to wrap this up, and I said, well, can we go out and play with the log first? And then everybody was out there. The kids were out there. My wife was out there. Your wife was out there. Chris was there.
Joe,
thank you. He was there. Like, everybody was there. And we were just taking turns lifting the log, but it wasn't training. It was like, bet I can lift that. Think you can lift that?
It literally
was just, like,
that was your first. That was your first. Was that your first log lift at all, or have you ever?
No, Scance had showed me how to lift logs last year at the Lift Hard Live
Easy. Okay. Gotcha.
So that's actually why I kind of was like, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I've only done it once, and it was a year ago.
10 months ago, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really the best part. And then I bust out the Keiths. You guys got to have a Keiths with me.
That was good.
It's good, man.
I think we're 58 days out, I believe. That might have been yesterday. We're 50-ish days out from the time of recording. So how's your training going?
I see 65 days according to my program.
That cannot be right at all. There's no way. You might want to
Saturday, July 20th, 65 days out according to Juggernaut.
Well, maybe from like day 1 above your week. Is that like off today, or is that like off of like when your week started like 5 days ago?
Hold on, stand by.
There's no way that July 20th is. I literally put, unless I completely.
Juggernaut's full of lies.
Yeah.
He also thinks I'm going to do an entire meet this weekend.
Well, there will be
57 days. Yeah, whatever.
There we go.
From the beginning of the week, probly. Yeah, because apparently I'm testing my RPE10 squat and bench on Saturday.
Literally all we did was just prove how you were not big calendar guy.
Definitely not big calendar guy. Definitely not big calendar guy.
As anyone that pays attention to the Discord saw this week.
Yes, and Morgan will tell you the same thing. But anyway, you want to wrap this one up?
Yeah. Where are they going to find you at, buddy?
Same place they always find me at. Joey underscore Malesko, MLECZKO. I do not have a Instagram for my gym because it's literally a basement gym. That's all. I still think it has the best gym name I've ever heard of.
You might be able to start. So like, you know how like you can actually tag yourself in my gym as like a location. I'm curious if it's been like literally like 8 years since I had to do that, but like you can eventually like create a location and then be able to tag yourself in it. So then you can just like even if
but
like
then people will know where I live. And I
yeah,
have
but
no
you could
patience
do
for
it.
that shit.
You could do it like a mile away or something. But just to be
Yeah.
able to like just to be able to see like Dilf Dungeon as the fucking location would be hysterical. Even if we had to like buy a Google fucking address to do it, like that'd be great.
And that was part of the thing actually. So I asked Morgan to make my logo, right? Because she's a fucking artist. Like she does digital designs all the time. And she goes, well, I'm worried about disappointing you. And I said, like, I'm sorry, the last design I had you make me is literally on t-shirts and banners across North America.
It
like,
is. I got
what
one in
makes
my
you
closet.
think you're gonna disappoint me? So I just
Funny.
want to thank everybody for sharing that and using that. That's fucking huge. And you know, every time I try and send it to her to be like some encouragement that like, no, like you did really good and you could do it again. But beyond that, you can find me at my orange gym at No Wine Cellar. And where are we gonna find you?
Keith Honeycutt 73. Go follow my orange gym, the No Wine Cellar. Go check out our Instagram, Unpaid and Underrated Podcast, website, unpaidinternpodcast.com, where Nate does all the dirty work. YouTube, we got Orange Glaze Search. I always butcher what the glaze is.
Search, yep.
Yep. And then I think we'll go ahead and see you next Tuesday.